Welcome to Speaker's Corner on the 30th of September, everybody. It's around, what time is it now? Around 2 p.m. UK time. And supposedly some of Tommy Robinson's supporters are going to be down today. If we look over here, if we look straight ahead over here where my finger is pointing, the police have closed that off. That's a direct walk from Marble Arch, which is there's a big arch over there and there's a station. So that's been blocked off, but you can walk along that side over there. So, hey, good afternoon. So one of the entrances to Speaker's Corner has been blocked off. So we have the police over there. And on this side here, just about there, we've got a CCTV camera, a CCTV police van. So they'll be keeping an eye on it. So the police are obviously expecting some people down here today, so we'll have to see who and what's going on. So we'll take a wander around and see what's what. Over here on the left, on the right, we've got the lady that is sort of, what is it, the exploiting animals for pleasure is wrong. So it's kind of a vegan type position. Let's have a wander around and see what else we can pick up here. This is always lively. This gentleman over here is an ex-Muslim. He's now a passionate Christian, and of course the other Muslims hate that, so they will challenge him quite robustly. Okay, cool. Cool. Alrighty. Let's have a wander around and yes, yeah, this is live, yeah.
What's it going to?
Say again?
Which channel?
Speaker's Corner UK. Speaker's Corner UK. Yeah.
Speaker's Corner UK.
Here's our elderly friend. Same old thing. Let's see what else is going on here. Lots of cameras around. We've got a few professional film crews here, I think from ITV, from a German company as well. Here's one of them. This fellow over here is from a professional company. So they're all anticipating some Tommy Robinson people coming down, presumably. But at the moment it's still quite quiet. There's not a lot going on. And what has this fella got to say for himself? Support nationalism, animal rights and organic food.
Philosophy on the camera stops. Yes, philosophy is written like that. It's spelled like
Can you still see on the Skype camera?
A woman, it's a woman, and she's a nationalist in America.
Cool, no worries.
And she doesn't believe in feminism or political correctness. And she says the women have got to get together, help each other, and start having children again. The white people not having enough children, not a huge amount, but get together and put the family first. Don't put a career first. It's expensive. Yeah, but what's the point in life?
It's a consequence of rich countries. Japan will have to drop.
I know. Japan's lovely. I went to Korea.
We can find, I think this ex-Muslim is probably the center of attention at the moment. Okay, somebody obviously a supporter of Tommy Robinson, etc. Have a look here.
You don't. Saying we're the only one in the whole universe, in the big wide universe. No, we're not the only ones in the big wide universe. And even if we were, smallness doesn't make it important. Smallness doesn't make it unimportant.
All religions are corrupt and wrong in some aspect.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Make us make you insignificant.
Here's our Christian preacher.
Yeah, but we went out partying last night, so we haven't slept for.
Well, then you didn't just arrive. You were up the whole time.
It is Sunday. Why do you
Never ask excuses. How prove their faults America. They didn't ask him how to heal blind. They didn't ask him how to heal deaf. They didn't ask him how to raise him.
Yeah, it is quite quiet at the moment, Hassan. Not a lot going on. Some police presence here with expectations of some Tommy Robinson or other supporters coming down here a bit later on. But at the moment, it is not a lot. Well, there's enough people, but not really much conversations. There's mostly preachers and that sort of thing. So at the moment, not a lot. And there's Manny Cinder. Manny.
How are you?
Good. Good. How are you guys? You're live. How you doing?
Love the gin and tonic.
Manny Cinder. I'm not sure if this.
Hello everyone.
Yeah, we'll be on the show again. I'm being asked, can I read the comments? I can see them. I'm not always paying attention to them is the answer. So, Stops, you'll need to sort of let me know if there's anything of interest in there. But I can see the comments. Hey, Titans. Yes, Stops is tuned in. So, Hassan is down. So, if you want to come and see Manny, he's here. Hassan is speaking on here, so I don't know if he's going to come down.
Is Hassan not coming?
Hassan, Manny's asking, are you coming? I'm sure he'll tell us. Hey, Bobby. So we'll see shortly if he's going to respond.
Has Hassan stopped talking to me? Hassan, why did you leave the show?
Oh, many, somebody's saying on here. Have you got your own version of it? Hey guys, yes, I'm on it, cool. It's important Tommy Robinson fans hit the park. Top reserve the park.
It's very quiet here at the moment. Everybody knows it's been the last few weeks.
Let's see. Hassan, Mandy's asking, are you coming down to the park? Over. So relatively. Oh, there's red hat guy. There's our.
Rob, are we okay for part 2 on Wednesday?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let's go and listen to our Trump supporting young man. See what he's got to say. Sorry, ladies.
My parents didn't take care of me. I would have been history by now. Obviously now.
But it doesn't have to be another animal. It could be life.
But how can we eat lunch then?
I honestly think that in 50 years' time we won't be eating it. I think it would just be a really rare
Maybe
thing.
we're eating more meat. Who knows?
It's like, for example,
It's like a
the
gas
slave trade used to be quite normal thing. And now it's like...
There are millions of people in the world. 8 billion
Let's go
people
around that
who
side
go
and see what we can hear there.
Rob,
Hey, Nasser. How you doing, buddy? Good. Cool. Okay, mate. Hey, guys.
Are you guys doing YouTube videos?
Film him. He's from America.
Seattle.
Seattle. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Hi, you're live streaming from Speaker's Corner
I
Live.
wish we had this back home. We need this.
What we need is your First Amendment. So you give us the First Amendment, we'll give you a copy of Speaker's Corner.
Oh,
How's
there
that?
you go.
That's it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's it.
Unfortunately, here they're limiting freedom of speech. They've got hate speech and all other nonsense going on here. And we've got police officers here, but unfortunately, on occasions, they get rid of controversial speakers instead of getting rid of the violent people. So, yeah, we're a little bit behind in that respect. But I guess you could
It
designate.
looks pretty controversial to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is very calm. This is very calm.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
So it
it
does
gets
get
more
that.
robust
I was
later.
wondering that.
Yeah, it gets more robust, and it depends who's coming. But some of the Tommy Robinson, who's a sort of fairly famous critic of Islam here in the UK, I think some of his supporters are coming down, and they're obviously critical of Islam. And there's quite a few Muslims in the park, so that often tends to be an interesting discussion, hopefully without violence. Yeah, we'd love to get your First Amendment. That would be great. But,
Sure.
unfortunately, we're a bit behind with that. People's feelings here seem to be a lot more important than freedom of speech, unfortunately. So
I think this is great. I think this is what we need.
Yeah,
we need
yeah.
this back in the U.S. right now between left and right.
yes, exactly.
Everybody's starting to hate each other.
It's very,
Even my own cousins.
partisan.
I was with them in Czech Republic a couple weeks ago, and a couple of my cousins are lawyers, which are very left wing, and I'm a little more centrist, but I go to the right a bit. I said something about gun rights, and you should have seen 3 people that just rose up out of their chairs, and I thought my own cousins were going to start hitting me. I really did. It was amazing.
I mean, just have a discussion around it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. A few minutes ago, I had 3 Muslim 20-year-olds and a Christian older lady, probably in her 60s, and they were both talking to me like it was an award for them to convince me of who was right and who was wrong, which religion was better.
Yes.
It was great. I was just listening.
Somebody who's watching is asking, what's the difference between left and right from your point of view? How would you describe it? And
bigger government on the left, more freedom on the right, less government, less taxes, less rules on business. Like I have my own business.
Yeah.
I need the government is a pain in my rear. They dictate too much. Too many taxes, too many laws. I can't even hire employees because it's too much money. I can't afford to pay all the taxes.
So do some people see the left as sort of like communism type thing? And do some people think the right is like Nazis? Do you sort of hear that as well?
Those are the extremes.
Yeah.
Okay. But as a right-wing type guy, and I go to Republican things all the time, I don't know any racist Republicans. Republicans give more to charity than the left. That's statistically true. All we do, we want peace with everybody. We just want freedom to go own a gun, do whatever we want to do, and not dictate.
Presumably one of the big differences, among many others, between the two of you is sort of border controls. Now, I'm for border myself, but I think some on the left, if not most, are for sort of, or what's your view in the US? Are most leftists, or is it far leftists that are open for open borders, let anybody come from anywhere?
I'm not sure about that, but there is a big problem because people come from other countries illegally into the U.S. and they use benefits. They take government money. They go to healthcare is the biggest thing. They go to a hospital, they get free health care because the hospitals in America cannot refuse anybody.
Oh, really? I thought it was private in America.
No. Well, they are private, but the law is if somebody comes into the emergency room of a hospital, they have to be treated.
So if you've got a cold or you've got a small thing, then you can't go to hospital for free?
You go to the emergency room,
right. Okay.
And they have to treat you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's a big cost. But there's a lot more complicated things. Before Trump got elected, there was I went to Canada, and I walked by a pub. There was a chalkboard outside the pub. It said, population of Canada right now 40 million. If Trump gets elected, 240 million. Let's start building the wall now. So the joke is in Canada they want to build a wall.
Yes, yeah.
It's got to be a little bit more lighthearted, but I think border control is.
Well, I agree with that. So is this your first time in Speaker's Corner?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I wish we had this in Seattle.
Yes,
it's really great.
All the major cities should have one. One of my friends here was just telling me there are other speakers' corners, although they're deserted in the UK. So this is, the main one, and I think there is in Australia and possibly other countries.
Yeah.
But it would be good to see it in the US as well.
Oh yeah. We need this kind of discussion without, people getting violent, without people taking things too personal, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's agree to disagree, and maybe like. The Muslim guys that were talking to me about the Quran and stuff, I learned things. Wow. And I'll go back and I'll tell my friends back in America,
read it though.
Hey, I learned this.
Because I've been coming here a couple of years, so my suggestion is read and make sure what they say is in fact true, because they have we all have a point of view, a perspective, right? And a number of them, exactly. And a number of them here is to try and make it seem palatable to the West.
Of course.
Now, if you look in the Middle East, they take a more literalist view, where certain things that we would find abhorrent, they have no problem with. But now they've had a collision here with the West, where we're going, that's not okay. So now there's a desperate need to try and reinterpret the Quran to make it acceptable to Western society.
So, my thoughts, I felt like I was being recruited.
Oh yeah. They're here to do something called dawah, which is to tell you about Islam and hopefully convert you. That's
and
the idea.
And the Christians do that too. I come from a Catholic family, 2 priests in the family, and they do the same thing, but very subtly. And I'm an atheist.
Myself.
And
With a lovely
I don't
accent,
believe
and
in-
you're talking about being slightly right. So isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
Because normally there's a correlation with being a Christian and being on the right in the US. And like yourself and myself, I'm probably centrist as well.
How about that? I'm on the
both
right,
atheists.
and I'm an
Yeah,
atheist.
there you go.
And
So-
I get in big arguments with my Christian
Oh, yeah.
right-wing friends.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
You know, and I just don't believe in man-made religion. Maybe a higher power, yeah, sure.
That's possible. Yeah, I'm open to it, but we need good
man-made
reasons.
religion, so corrupted, so many wars, so many bad things from religion. You know, look what the Catholics did, right? Look what the Muslims have done. Look what the Jews have done in history.
They will
Everybody.
all, of course, claim that these people were bad people and they weren't following the true religion, or they weren't having the right interpretation. But it's funny how, if this is supposed to be God's word, that it can't be more clear that everybody can understand clearly. That's one of my big beefs, especially the Muslim religion. Because the difference is, of course, with Christianity, it's inspired word. It's not physically written down from God speaking to somebody. Whereas the Muslims believe that it was divinely dictated via Gabriel to Muhammad, and that was perfectly kept for 23 years and put together. And so, my question is always, is this book a book of what we would expect from an all-powerful, all-knowing God that wants a clear, complete and concise message for his followers? And clearly not, in my view. Anyway,
and what they were saying, because somebody was using that argument as well, is that the Arabic translation is different than the English translation. They say it wasn't meant to be translated into English.
Great. Well, that's fine, but that then counters their argument. This is a book for all people for all time. If it's only meant to be for Arabic people, great.
Right.
Then there's less than 1% that can actually read Arabic, especially the Quranic Arabic.
Right.
So great.
And
well,
even
that's
if
fine.
you can read it, how do you really interpret it?
So then all the people that have converted, which is, I would suggest, however many millions, if not hundreds of millions, they shouldn't really have converted by that, whoever that person's logic is, because they haven't read the Arabic, the Arabic version.
They don't know the truth. Who knows?
Well, exactly. There could be mistakes in their translation. I mean, that's a desperate attempt, though, because here in the Speaker's Corner, they often want to claim that it's fine. You can read any translation and convert to Islam, but then sometimes it's a mark of desperation, in my view, that they fall back on. Oh well, have you read it in Arabic? Do you understand Arabic? Well, no, I don't. If that's the requirement, then you have to submit that all the other people that converted that didn't understand Arabic shouldn't have converted.
That's a weak argument.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Well, welcome. It's great to see you and speak to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Enjoy this. They're here till 8, 9 o'clock at night sometimes.
So you do this on YouTube?
Yeah. So this is going to Speaker's Corner UK.
Oh, neat.
Speaker's Corner UK. It's a live stream. There's many other channels out there as well. And so once a month or whenever I can sort of get down. I used to come a lot, but I live a long way away now, so I don't get down as much now. So
it's great. I really like this. I like dialogue.
No, that's it. Yeah.
As long as it doesn't get too out of control.
Exactly.
Some of their theories, man. These young
flat
Muslim
earthers
boys,
down here.
They
we have all
started
kinds.
talking about JFK and how Israel did the 9/11. Oh my gosh, man.
You'll hear everything here. Just when you thought you haven't heard it all, you'll hear
yeah.
some other nonsense that you couldn't believe human beings in the 21st century actually believe. So
I know.
No, enjoy it. Have fun.
That's what makes humans great, huh?
Yeah.
For me, it does. Because I don't know. It's just we are what we are.
Exactly. No, to answer that question, this gentleman said he's an atheist, so no, he's not a Christian. But that would have been a reasonable assumption given some of the views, but he's not. So there we go.
Yeah.
You can be anything you want, can't you?
That's right.
Great stuff.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Take care. So here's this lady that. Say again?
What are you streaming on?
Yeah.
About what platform?
YouTube, Speaker's Corner UK. So you'll see this if you search for it. You'll pick it up on Speaker's Corner UK. One word.
Speaker's Corner UK.
Yeah, you'll see the stream on there at the moment.
And a VOD saved afterwards?
Yeah, so I save it to the phone and then I can do an edit.
Okay. And do you upload those?
Yes, sometimes when I get a chance. And you'll see there's all the comments coming up as well.
How many views do you have?
That's the one thing I can't see on there. 173 at the moment.
Okay.
But one of my colleagues is live streaming. There's another one as well, Content Over Everything. He's also streaming live.
I just saw that guy.
Yeah. It's about a 20-30 second delay from live to when it comes out.
Look out curiosity.
Yeah, subscribe to Content Over Everything as well, and you'll get another one. So.
So does your organisation like formulate opinions, or is it just more of a newsreel?
It's for people to. I just record that because there's a lot of other people recording here as well. Many of them are theists, and I'm an atheist, so I'll give it from a different perspective, or I'll record different conversations. So, what was the question?
I'm not. I've been vegetarian and vegan at various times.
That's a good question. Is keeping a cat exploited? We can ask this lady. I think my view is if you were saving the cat, then that would be it. But if you took it out of the wild, then one could suggest that might be exploitation. But we can ask her.
Thank you.
Myself, what are my views on gun control and gun laws? I think that members of the public should not have guns. I think that enforcement and government should have guns, and I've had guns. I'm trained with them. Oh, we had lots, yes. And we used to. Yes, yeah. Everybody's got their own delusion, right? Cool. Let's have a wander around and see. Yeah. Here's our Christian brother in deep study in his Bible. Good day, sir. How are you?
So Richard's a pro. I know.
The live Jesus. Which one is the live Jesus? I mean, we've.
Just going around stretching my legs a bit.
Is he undercover? Do we know which one is Jesus?
If you believe, not by faith, but by sight, you will live like you are now in ignorance. But Jesus Christ said, believe in me and you shall see. It's a spiritual sight that every one of us needs. Spiritual light. You want to see before you believe. You want to understand before you believe. But Jesus said, if you believe, you will see. You will be set free from your sin. It's a and it is beautiful. There's no greater beauty than having rest with God, your Creator. No greater joy. No greater peace.
Nothing much else going on. Yes, yeah, I have seen it. What's his name? Omar? I guess it is. Here we go. Okay.
What's that mean? What does the word with mean?
Do you know why?
Again, for the 50th time.
Explain it.
And what does the word with mean? W-I-T-H. What does it mean?
The word with means something that is with something.
No, it means association.
No, you tell me. What does the word? Okay, hang on. Okay.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God,
and the Word was God. So where
the Word is God, and God is God. Come on.
What is the association?
With, that was the word.
What about the Word is God? What does that mean?
The Word is God and God is God. Wait a minute.
Don't
if I tell you,
don't bring your
in
own
the
word.
beginning was the tree,
say,
and the tree was with the fence, and the fence is
no,
God, and the tree is God.
You said the word was with God. You say it is an association with God. But then I ask you a question. The word was God. What does it mean?
It means you have two gods.
You're not making sense.
Yeah, no,
you're not making sense. You're not even explaining.
You never listen.
You are not even explaining. What the
If you don't listen,
that means
you
you
need
lack
to
understanding of God's word. Do you know why?
You just read the
Do
Bible.
you know why?
You just read
Do
the
you know
Bible,
why?
and you didn't
Do you know why
understand it.
you don't understand?
As an English speaking
I
person,
ask you.
why don't you
I
understand
ask you
it?
a simple question. What does the word is God mean? If I say that is a tree.
Wait.
What does that
In the
mean?
beginning, wait a minute. In the beginning was the tree, and the tree was with the fence, and the tree is God.
The tree is a tree. The tree is a tree. You are making a wrong example. It doesn't matter what we are talking about.
You know what? I always say was with the fence, and the tree was
You
with
can
the
see
fence.
the people challenging our Christian man here.
He doesn't say that. You are making a wrong example. That one is wrong. You are not taking it right.
Yes, he is.
I knew it. I've been telling you for 5 minutes. You haven't figured it out. He had to tell me.
88 times in the Bible.
No, listen, you're too young for hearing
Don't
it.
forget about that.
None
You are going to a different subject.
None of the
The
disciples
trouble
knew he
with you,
was
sir.
God.
The trouble with
You know he was
you
God,
start
but
something.
none of his disciples knew he
You
was
start
God.
something, but you
You
don't
said to
finish
me
it.
that
You
none
are
of his
running.
disciples
You are
knew
like
he was
You are
God.
like a rabbit.
That's why you don't
You are like
understand.
a rabbit.
You said none of his disciples knew he was God.
You have the explanation. Later you have the meaning of that word.
You told me that none of the disciples knew that he
There
was
is no
God.
God the same.
Wait a minute. So nobody knew he was God, but yet
They
he was
did not know.
God.
They
Was
did
he
not know.
God when he was on earth?
He was God in the
None of
flesh.
the disciples knew.
Yes, they did know.
Why?
How can know?
All the Muslim men that want another wife.
So
You don't even have
he
idea
was
who
God,
he is.
but the disciples see him. They can see him.
Yes.
And what does your Bible
The
say?
Bible says
No man can see God and live.
but God was manifest in the flesh. That's why he can be seen. Because he's supernatural, he's not limited. Your God is limited. It is not supernatural.
You have to explain for people they can't hear what you're saying. You have to tell them the truth.
That'll be even more painful.
Tell them
Blood
the
from your
truth.
ears.
No, spend time on yourself, you know what I mean? If you don't educate yourself,
let's
you
go
will
now.
never.
They'll say mine, obviously. Well, here you go. Somebody's got a provocative sign up. Well, provocative as in like it'll get attention anyway. Your God is vegan.
What word comes into your mind?
Non-animal products. i.e. not eating anything, you know. Who?
My wife is threatening to become a vegan. That's my only reason I'm listening to you guys. I want to stop her going like this.
Never said that. So what? They have personality. They have a brain. They have a heart. They have personality. Why aren't they stuff?
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry, brother.
Like, a few are.
So it's intelligence a reason to exploit someone. So a human on the same sort of brainwave, mental capacity as a cow, for instance, is it okay to exploit them? Can we eat them?
No, a human in the mental capacity of a cow is probably a bad that nobody will exploit them.
So why do we exploit cows then?
Exploit is the same organ? Why do we?
How do you exploit cows?
What is vegan? Why is it they continue to kill animals?
Are they the same? So if I gave you, say, a puppy dog and a plant and said cut one in half, would it be a difficult decision? Virtually all scientists completely disagree with that. There's one or two crazy scientists that say, yeah, plants feel pain. But universally across the board, all scientists will say, no, they don't have a central nervous system and they don't have a brain.
Okay, so for you, feeling pain is the main component of
Suffering.
Yes, suffering.
Sentience is the reason
Exactly.
we should be.
Sentience directly depends on the level of intellect and of perception of the world that animals have. Some animals have much more perception than others. For example, a chimpanzee will feel a lot more pain than, for example, a crocodile, right? Or another animal with lesser intelligence, right? So your argument kind of goes that if an animal has very low intelligence, it can suffer. It's okay to make it suffer.
Yeah.
Because plants don't suffer. Because
bacteria?
well, basically that's your reasoning.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
And I actually agree with that reasoning because plants don't suffer. So we actually build chairs, we build whatever we want with the plants, with the trees, because they don't suffer.
So in the argument, it would be alright for us to kill crocodiles and make shoes because they don't feel the pain.
Yeah, man. If an animal feels less pain,
any pain
at all. So only if an animal feels
any animal that is aware of the world around them, that has sentience, the ability to experience life. We all know this from living with cats and dogs. They respond to us, they react, they have personalities. All animals that have that sentience have that capability. Yes, on varying levels to others. We are apparently the most sentient, intelligent species. I don't believe that because we are destroying our planet.
So who's higher than us?
Well, we're not as clever as we think we are.
Just check it.
Who's more clever?
No, we're not as clever as we think we are. We think we're really important. We're all just here to experience life, or however long we get. Why would we cause harm along the way when we don't need to?
Well, we have the power of destroying.
So might makes right. We have the power. Might makes right. Is that what you're saying? If I'm stronger than you, does that mean I can dominate you?
That's what happens in the world.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be. And it doesn't. In this society, there's laws.
How do you change that? Only by becoming strong and by making the strong
laws in place.
just.
The strong survive.
We don't want to live in a
strong do what
society
they
like
can and the
that.
weak suffer what they must. It has always been like that, man.
Those rules are on that. The state of nature is power.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I don't believe that.
What is the state of nature for you?
Just to live my own. It's
This
just to live.
misplaced sense of justice that we should provide for animals,
Well,
as if
the
they're
only
our
thing we
equal.
should give them is the right not to be used by us.
I still can't go with the fact that.
Because there's only 5 axes of morality. He's operating on
Okay, I know what we have to do. We need to draw a line.
My thing is, wouldn't you save that for humans rather than?
Let's draw a line. Let's draw a line. To one side we have living creatures that feel no pain. The other we have living creatures who feel pain. So, to this side are trees, plants, all that stuff, right? What about insects?
I don't know.
They don't feel pain.
I don't know.
They don't feel pain. They don't have a nervous system.
Right? Okay, yeah. I don't.
So you can do whatever you want to
Can you eat insects?
I'm not here to talk about insects. So I mean, you can.
What about fish?
Hey, I'm not telling anyone what to do as well. I'm not telling. I'm just making you try to make you think a little bit. No, it's not one single. I said don't do this, don't do this.
It's not about people not thinking, but maybe we're saving our thought process for something that's a bit more
insects, so that's
important.
I'm just talking about
insects
prime
are animals.
If you like, I mean, yeah,
They're animals, right? What about fish?
Oh my, yeah.
Tasty, man.
Huh?
Tasty.
Fish are definitely
Good for your brain.
Go around. Oh, this fella's got some interesting views. Yeah. I'm not sure if Tommy's coming, but I think some of his supporters are coming.
Tell him. See? Black, look, here's a code, look. Black, which or Asian. I see
No.
three or that's what they told us. Here, look at our code.
Alright, let's have a wander around. Oh, there's Raj. People have been asking about Raj, so let's go over and say hello. Hey buddy. How you doing, man? People have been asking where you are.
Yeah, I'm just
you are for those
setting
people
up
who
my
are asking.
little chessboard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's setting up his chessboard. Because Raj plays chess and
they're playing Connect 4.
Connect 4.
So we're.
What's wrong with Connect 4?
Yeah, well, you can't win, can you? How are you going to protect your king if you're playing Connect 4?
There's no king in Connect 4.
I know, that's the whole point. That's why they will lose ultimately.
People are asking, do you know if Tommy's coming down or who's coming down today?
I don't know. I know Tommy isn't coming down today, but there might be a few people that are from, let's say, the DFLA and stuff, I think.
What are they coming for?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I've just heard rumors.
Where's Hassan?
Hassan, he's upset with you, man.
Is that why he's not coming?
He will come. You shouted at him like he was a naughty boy.
Will he behave like a naughty boy?
I think sometimes he has a little bit of extra narcotics that do affect.
So live stream what I've got here.
One sec.
Hey, look there's Leon.
Take a smile.
There's the man.
Take a smile for that.
We're competing here for viewers. I think you've got more than me, Leon.
I just started seeing you.
There you go.
You might have more than me at the moment.
You'll catch up. A battle of viewers here.
So
the more live streams, the better. But now you just need to get one of these, brother. Come on. You've got everything. It's just a bit. And you've got a nice big phone there now.
Upgrade. It's the Huawei P20 Pro.
Okay.
I wanted a Pixel 2 XL. It's the best camera right now.
Sellotape it down because these Mujahideen will try and nick it, won't they?
Why did you pick the Why did you pick the white side?
Because I'm a racist, obviously, white supremacist. Now, because it's more visible. It's more visible. So
somebody's asking crazy questions. Yeah, porn takes queen.
Yeah.
Is Raj going to say porn takes queen and get banned from the park? Is that the correct question?
No, that's not the correct question. I'll explain the logic later.
Okay.
At the moment, I'm just going to set up and then everybody gets it in the house. So how's it going on? So, and if anyone tries to take it, it's linked to the gate.
He said he's going to talk about it in a minute.
And this is sellotape.
And he's got a nice blue outfit here, so he looks like
yeah. I'm ready for war, man.
Thin blue line.
The blue is the colour of the Sikhs, the Khalsa. Shouldn't say that. Blue today. We're at war today.
You can say no.
No, we're at war. Do me a favour.
Yeah.
Are you live streaming? I ain't paying that bullshit, Jizzy. You're mad. No one's getting me out of the park. You're crazy. I'm sticking here.
You're crazy.
Anyone wants to talk to me, I'm going to say no. I'm not speaking. My whole aim today is just to make a point.
Can you play chess?
I can actually. We'll have a game one day. We'll have a game then.
Yeah, what one?
Not today though, obviously.
Okay, so presumably the idea is that Raj is the white pieces, and his interlocutors are the black pieces.
Well, just the one, but they've only got four. They've only got 4 moves.
Okay.
Bitching and whining, harassment and bullying, intimidation, and the last one is violence and trying to get people out of the park. That's the only freaking moves. That's why they're going to lose.
Don't you think you're going to be accused of racism? You're getting all in white stuff.
I know, I've already been accused of racism already, man. Don't worry. I can do it, I'm Asian, man, so I'm allowed to. Don't worry about it. I've got to sell a few bit hard. Are you live streaming today? No.
Raj is playing Tiddlywinks according to a viewer online. Yeah.
I still win though.
Tiddlywinks is quite a skillful game.
I still win.
Raj, how would you like to pay your jizya? Direct debit or cash?
I ain't pay no bullshit jizya, you're mad. Never happening, you're crazy, man. That jizya is going to be freaking more. I'm going to actually get rid of that tax.
Direct debit.
Yeah, every colour is.
Don't worry, bro.
Take your details off.
You alright, Raj?
Yeah, give me a moment.
Here's the Modine fella.
Oh, he's playing chess.
And before anyone starts to try and do anything, these are super glued as well. I thought of everything. This
What about the other one?
This is chained to the thing.
You should put a piece of lead underneath it or something.
What's the touch of dirty chessboard?
Not Mujahideen do.
There you go. If you're watching content of everything, there's his stream, there's his setup.
Cheapest chessboard as well.
Little mobile kit there.
I'm playing chess.
still in the park. 150 mujahideen couldn't get me out.
Somebody's asking what's under the turban, Raj. It looks like an apple.
No, it's
Somebody's
actually
asking.
just a bun, like my hair.
Ah, okay, cool. Crazy,
Here's all the
crazy
drinks
comments.
already. So look what I've got here, my little chessboard. I've had to glue everything because you know you've got a lot of thieves like Abu Tablet at the park. You're going to try and steal it. So obviously we got all of this, and I'm playing chess, and these guys are playing Connect 4, and they're going to lose. They're going to lose. So my aim today is not to speak to no one, just to stand my ground and prove the point that we cannot be bullied at the park. So this is the way it's going to go.
You tell me he'll guide you through standing your ground.
Fucking pigeon. You're gonna stand no ground, you're a fucking coward, man.
Still here.
What happened last time? You got run out the park.
Still here.
You got run out the park.
Oh shit.
I think everybody
Look at that,
reckons.
already I've turned. I've only been here for 3 minutes.
I think we all recognise who it is. So putting something on his face is.
I still don't know why this one
Pretty foolish.
Sikh is causing so much headache to the Muslim woman. I don't know why. Just ignore me.
Is Stan coming down?
I don't know about that. I've not had no communication with him.
Oh yes, he jettisoned you, didn't he? He
Yeah,
excommunicated
but I
you.
would have, I'll kind of separate myself from him anyway.
Yeah, okay.
At a certain point. You know, there's only so much I can kind of condone.
Somebody, money, online here.
I can't even record video.
What's the plan today, though, Raj?
Plan is just to stay here. Anyone that comes up to me, wants to talk to me, they have to audition, and I'm going to be no 99.9% of the time. My whole aim is just to stand there.
What's the criteria in order to be able to talk to you?
There's no real criteria. I'll make a decision at the time, but pretty much everyone's going to be told no. So all I'm doing is standing my ground.
You're just protesting today?
Yeah, it's a protest basically. That we can't be bullied out the park. We're not going to be intimidated and bullied out the park.
And even in the park.
Oh, fuck off, you little Indian. Standing, man.
He's protesting freedom of speech, apparently. Yeah, as in like,
you know what?
he can say what he likes.
I've been nice to you for a long time.
The police escorted him out. I think last week before, whenever it was.
Why don't you condemn Tan's speech, man? It's racism and shit. like every time you guys.
I've condemned what I have to do. No, so I'm not going to apologise for no one. I'm not apologising for another man's. I'm not apologising for another man's behaviour. No, I'm not condemning nothing. I've already condemned what I had to. I'm not doing it now, am I?
Well, you condemn it, you know, because it's racism and you seem to support Tan.
Do you support his right to say something?
I think really if he's speaking hatred, you shouldn't really say that.
Okay, my question was, do you support his right? You don't have to agree with what he says. Do you understand the difference?
Well, if he's dividing people, hate speech is illegal.
Do you support his right to speak in Speaker's Corner? Is the question. It's a yes or no, I think.
Yeah, but when you say speak, there's different.
Open his mouth and words come out.
Yeah, but no, it's not hate speech.
And who decides on hate speech?
Well, that's the thing. See, the law says.
Even the law can't decide on it. Have you read up what it says? Go and look online. You'll see it as vague as religion.
If it's hate speech, it's hate speech.
Well, give me an example of hate speech.
Trans speech is pretty racist. Like, I saw you.
Give me an example of hate speech.
I'm sure you read Tan's hate speech.
I haven't.
You've seen it online.
I've seen bits and pieces, but I didn't pay attention. I don't take Tan particularly seriously. But give me an example of hate speech.
People shouldn't take it seriously, but basically, it's very racist, using racist words, dehumanising people, and all kinds of shit. Like, for example, I'll show you a video. But basically,
are you saying you are security?
Basically, a lot of racism coming out of his mouth, a lot of dehumanising of black people.
Does he have the right to say that? Even if you disagree with it?
Well, if he's been hatred to another human being, dehumanising, me personally, I don't think he's got a right to speak.
Okay, so that's your personal opinion, right?
I think he shouldn't dehumanise another human being.
Okay, but that's your personal opinion, right?
Yeah. Everyone's got a personal opinion.
Sure, but what we want to get to is a point where we can have some kind of agreement, and we need a foundation for that, right?
You mean like
otherwise, I can say something else, somebody else, and everybody's got their own opinion. But in order to have a functioning society, we need to agree on stuff, right?
But basically, it's just all about opinions.
It's all about? Correct, and the right to say them, correct?
The right side, but long as you're not being hateful to another person, like you're inciting, dehumanising another human being.
But that's a subjective view. Because I could say that I feel dehumanized every time a Muslim tells me that Islam is true and that I'm going to hell. Same thing, right? No, you don't. Why not? See, it's very easy to deconstruct this limited speech version.
When you've got racism, there's a definition between opinion and hate speech.
Well, tell me the differentiation.
If you're dehumanising.
What is dehumanising? You see, you're giving generalist statements. Give me an example.
Well, Raj was saying using the N-word, and not Raj, Tan was using
Sure.
the N-word.
Does he have the right to do so, and we can disagree with him?
Also, he's calling people like monkeys.
I understand.
He's referring human beings to animals. That's called dehumanisation, and like Europeans have been doing that for a long time. And a lot of,
Does he have the right to say it, and we can disagree with him and tell him why he's wrong?
When he said the N-word, basically, if you let someone like Tan speak, eventually he's going to get a rush. He's going to hang himself.
So then you should be allowed to speak. Actually, you're making the argument against yourself here.
Well, but basically, he said it one time, and then he said it again, third time, and then he said it again 3 times. So he's going to keep on doing this.
Yeah, we can keep disagreeing with him, right?
Well, I 100% disagree with him, and obviously everyone should disagree with him. But you know, at the end of the day, we should stop people saying hate speech because, like he said it once, and even the first time, man, we should.
Yeah, but then we have. You know what a slippery slope is? Have you heard of that?
Well, I heard and then you can't say anything.
Correct. You get to a point, unless you can make a special claim for a special person, and that's unique, which I've never heard, you don't have an argument. The limited speech.
But there's a clear definition between hate speech.
But there isn't a clear one. That's what I'm telling you. You keep telling me there is. I've been on the website. The government website is as vague as the weather.
But you must know about. But you know about racism. So you know what racism is, and you know about.
If somebody calls somebody a moron, is that hate speech?
No.
Okay, so it's only when they refer to their race. That's hate speech.
Well, and dehumanising another human being or dehumanising people, like whether you're religion or whether it's race.
But I think Islam dehumanises non-believers. So can I use that argument and insist that people are not allowed to talk about Islam in Speaker's Corner? I'm using your logic, by the way.
Well, I don't really think Islam dehumanises.
Have you read the Quran?
No.
Okay, so read the Quran first.
Well, that's why I'm a Hindu.
Yes, but that's fine.
But the thing is, they support whatever religion they are, they're allowed to practice it.
But that's not the point then. You said to me, no, it's not. I can't ask the same thing you're asking for.
I think what you've been doing, you've been reading like the Quran, or you've been taking out words and oh shit, in all these biblical books, like whether it's Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, or the Quran, there's all kinds of stuff in there.
Okay, but here's the difference, my friend. These books and religions claim that they're true, and B, that they are moral. So all I need to find is the immoral parts to claim they're not moral, right? Well, of course they do, and they're all wrong.
Well, all religion says that.
But that wasn't the question. I wanted to use your standard, but you seem unwilling to be consistent.
Basically, all religions, they say, oh, I'm right, oh, I'm right, oh, I'm right.
It's all opinion. Are you okay to concede that you're not consistent? You want certain things banned, but not other things? So you're not consistent then? Because when I brought you an example of things that I might find offensive.
Your examples look stupid.
No, so is yours. Yours is a bit stupid as well. I can also say those words, You need reasons, my friend. Why is my one stupid? Why is my one stupid?
Calling someone a moron, that's like a very mild insult.
Why is my example stupid?
That's a very mild insult. That's a very mild. Yeah,
by whose standard? By whose standard? Somebody that says that you're a disbeliever, you're going to go to hell, is that a mild statement? And I'm in a burning hell, my skin will be... You haven't read the Quran, have you? My skin will be peeled off and put back on for eternity. Yes, go read the Quran. Yes, it does.
Well, basically, like Christians say that all the time. Like, if you don't do this, you're going to hell.
Yes, that's what's called a red herring. I'm not interested in what Christians say at the moment.
Everyone says that, like all the religious people say, oh, if you don't do what I say, you're going to go.
So should we ban that as well then?
No, because it's not serious.
Okay, so it's your subjective opinion. All right, my friend. Thank you. I think we've established once again that nobody can defend limited speech here. So we'll go over here.
going on. You're outside the old fucking game.
Almost a 50-50 still.
You can do, but I don't get live. You can. So if you're streaming, you get like super chats. But
Israeli flash.
yeah. You can like hit $1 and get people. But they get on bigger screens like that. You get some money and some other people. I've got a smaller channel, so
You're getting left out. You're feeling left out, always say Tommy.
Don't talk to turds.
When that's left out.
Tommy! Tommy Robinson, big up Tommy
That's not even
Robinson.
his real name. That's not even his real name.
Big up Tommy Robinson.
Wait. You're feeding into the ignorance. That's not even his real name. That's not even his real name. His real name is Stephen Lennon Lexley. Yeah?
Is it really?
Lexley Lennon. Yeah? Lexley Lennon. Yeah? Wait. She knew that. Who's the original Tommy Robinson? Does anybody know who the original Tommy Robinson is? That he took the name from? Who is he? Who was he? He was a low-life thug and a paedophile who was being investigated. Yes. If you do your research, you find out the original Tommy Robinson was a paedophile and a racist thug. Yeah, exactly. And a paedophile who was being investigated for paedophilia.
That's the deal with my ear thing.
And now this guy takes on his name, Tommy Robinson. Yeah, he's now supporting faggots. Fuck Tommy Robinson. Fuck you. England, Britain first. Yeah, fuck you. Yeah. What about the FLA? Are they going to join us today? No. Lovely lads, like dickheads like you. What did Nick Griffin say? What did Nick Griffin say about AGL?
The height of intellectual conversation. Fuck you.
That's the level, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh no, not about Christmas.
Mate, ask him about let's talk about Christmas. Right. December 25th. December 25th. Is that Jesus' birthday? December 25th. Is that his birthday? So then why bring it up? It's a pagan tradition. Yeah? Nimrod was celebrating his birthday on December 25th. He used to have he used to wear a red cloth.
Wow, this is the level we're at, right?
He's got 150,000.
Red thingy on.
Yeah.
Right. Nick Griffin said Tommy Robinson is a paid. Nick Griffin said Tommy Robinson is a paid troll.
Why are you feeling left out, you pussy?
BNP?
I love it!
BNP?
I don't talk to turds.
At the end of the day, listen, my friend. At the end of the day, I'll support Nick Griffin, yeah, rather than Tommy Robinson. Because Tommy Robinson's a sellout. Yeah? Nick Griffin said he would not fucking.
We're not having Sharia.
He would not only have Muslims only. Yeah?
Mate, do me a favour. Show the viewers. Show the viewers.
Tommy Robinson, Tommy Robinson. Excuse me. Why doesn't Tommy Robinson?
Hopefully they're getting everybody's face.
Sir?
Hopefully they'll catch everybody's
Why
face.
doesn't Tommy Robinson talk about the bankers that control everything? The Zionist Jewish bankers that control
Yeah, there's the. Yeah, but over there the police are filming over there, so I don't know if you can see that. They're filming with a camera, so that's good. They're gathering evidence.
Is there a Muslim, a director at the Bank of England?
I've moved it now. You will see it in a second.
Who's a Jew? You hold his flag every time you go on a march, yeah?
Can I say something?
My friend.
Can I say something, brother? Can I say something? I just want to say one thing, brother.
A woman the other day, she was Jewish woman.
Omar, why are you covering? Brother, can I just say something, yeah? There's nothing. We know what you look like.
The reason why I take you pussy, man. What's wrong with Jews? Why they good at?
Yes, everybody knows who he is.
What Israelis really good at is killing women and children. Yeah, and yet you don't condemn it, and yet you hold his flag.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you don't know enough about it. Do some research, then. Don't
hey, brother.
Like a mug. Don't come
good.
here like a mug. You get me? Like fucking.
First of all, Greeks, Leon's hand. We should talk.
Yeah, the last one I just saw right where is Omar and the idiot covering his face.
Because this, first of all, let me just say something.
I apologise.
The shoulders are rather thin.
Tommy, who's a Zionist? He's a Zionist first. Britain second.
The guys talking very nasty. We shouldn't be like that. I'm just saying.
That's the beauty of content over everything. He's got a lot of mates here in the park who will take care of his equipment while he goes to fetch it. So he's got equipment all over the park. The man is sorted.
Get this, guys. Get this, yeah? I'm not. I condemn them. No, I don't. Do you want Sharia law in this country? Do you want it? If you don't want it, we don't want it. The moment you want it, we want it. That's how it works. That's how it works.
No, can I just say something? Sharia law.
That's how it works. Don't bring Sharia law. We've got Jewish laws in this country.
Having a go at him. This guy is a lovely guy. From his manners.
In Stamford Hill, they have their own ambulance service, their own police force.
Why is the Muslims not talking about the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, which is more important than what Israel and all that? In Yemen, millions are going to die. Saudi and the UAE, Saudi and Yemen is not important.
They're all important.
Yemen is not important.
They're all important.
And you're telling me about Israel?
Palestine is important.
I know
Palestine is important. Syria is important. Iran, the next target, is important.
Listen, they're all important. Yemen, there's a humanitarian crisis. 29 million people can die. Saudi, yeah, exactly.
I know.
This guy is a billion times better than Saudi. He's a billion times better than a lot of Muslims. That I don't even say.
Khan's going to deal with him.
Imran Khan. Even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was a Jewish man that used to throw things at him, and then when the Jewish man got ill, the Prophet visited him, and the Jewish man became Muslim from his manners. I think people should have better manners and show more manners to people.
You don't like it. You don't like it.
Tell you why we don't like it.
You probably heard it on the stream.
Something to do with him being Muslim.
Yeah.
What was
There's no media there. There's no.
Well, you know, all the mayors in London, mate. He's not.
But I bet we own businesses. Hold on. But I bet if
we own businesses.
You all own businesses,
my friend. But I bet if it was a white man who's
and he was doing a shit job.
Hold on.
I don't think he did a shit job. King did a shit job.
Their tactic is to surround me and hit me. They've already said it online, so none of them said it online. So either you move back or I'll get the police. Give me space. Give me space, because that's what they've said online. That they're going to surround me.
We're having a chat with him. You're getting
No, move back.
Raj, can you step back, Raj?
Keep a safe
Raj, you're causing a breach of the peace, Raj.
Move back.
Shut up, Raj.
Raj, you're a breach of the peace, Raj. Just shut your mouth, Raj.
Shut up, Raj.
I've come too far in.
Lock him out the circle, man.
You know what Abu Talha said? He's going to surround me and keep punch me when they're surrounding me.
That's what Abu Talha said. He's not worth it. No one wants to speak to you, Raj. Just block him off, man. You're irrelevant, Raj, man. Fuck off, man. Go back home to your internet.
If Tommy became Muslim, what would you guys do?
Alright, hand over the jizzy.
What would you do to
We'll have your jizzy soon.
If he became Muslim, what would you do?
Some people had their way, it would be
No bacon sandwiches either.
Hypothetically, if hypothetically you got hurt in Muslim, you know there's going to be a riot.
No, I'm just playing. It's a bit funny though, isn't it? You got two Muslims talking about Muslims.
What would you guys do? Your thoughts?
That's the running joke.
You'll crucify him.
We would de-radicalise him and then get back to business.
Who's radical? What is that? The business of spewing hatred against Muslims only. Muslims don't control they don't control your politicians.
What it is, they've got a tactic though. I went over the police, so what they're going to do is surround, and then they'll do something.
Shut up, man. No one's talking to you, you little pussy. No one's talking to you, you little pussy.
You got attention for 10 minutes, man.
Your eardrums not full of hair, man. Go watch your ears, man.
Privatising your NHS, they're privatising your police force. And you want to blame the Muslims. Muslim this, Muslim that. Jimmy Savile for 40 years got away with pedophilia. You don't want to talk about Jimmy Savile. But yeah, you want to talk about these so-called Muslims.
Can't keep my name out their mouth.
The media is very...
Every news channel in the country.
I'm not a fan.
Every news
and yet, nobody did nothing.
They do nothing.
The police knew about Jimmy Savile.
The police the people. Are the police the people?
So where was you lot? Where was you lot?
People knew.
Where was you lot though? Where was you lot? No, when you found out, when it was mainstream news, where was the protest?
I've only been here 10 minutes. Because they were scared they're going to lose their jobs. Yeah? All of that was going on for 40 years. Only when he died, all of that came out. No justice. Have the people got justice yet? Those paedophile MPs, have they been arrested? No. What about the paedophile? There's a institutionalised paedophilia going on in the UK. It's cost of the Masons.
It's only 7%.
The Masons are paedophiles. The Masons are paedophiles. Majority of But why are you lying, bro? 9%. Where 9%? Bro, where do you get statistics from? My friend, bro, where do you get statistics? Where do you get statistics? Yeah.
Javi Jowed on.
Forget that. Where do you get statistics from?
Wait,
my friend.
Secretary.
Do you know the COP study? The COP study. Do you know the COP study? Yes or no? Do you know the COP? How can you know the COP study then? That's where studies all the child abuse cases in the UK. Wait, it studies all the child abuse in the UK, right? You love Queen. Let's talk about Queen first. You love Queen, right?
Omar, make some space for us. Okay, put the camera in your head, Omar. Look.
They know you believe that majority of doing themselves. They're not. Where's the statistics? Where's the statistics? Show me. Where's the statistics? Show me statistics. I tell everyone, show me statistics. Show me the statistics. Go on, show me. I'll show you my thing.
I need to open up the circle a bit bigger.
Anyone show me the statistics that says back
BBC News. Check this out. BBC News. Show me statistics. I'll show you statistics. I'll give you statistics. I'll give you statistics. Yeah, listen. I'll give you statistics.
COP study. Yeah, let's go to the COP study then. Look, the most part of the statistics. Let me give you the most comprehensive study for child grooming in the UK is the OSSS. But it shows that
look what's already. I've only been here 10 minutes. They just love me, man.
It's one seat, you just butt
You ain't even Sharia and speakers to me.
Hey, no! What's happening, bro? I can't get in, bro.
Have your jizya next
calling
week.
man a nigger and you're standing there laughing, you pussy off. But it's calling you a nigger and you're standing there laughing, you pussy off.
Why do you think it's so? It's not
You're
okay.
a pussy. You're a pussy. You're a pussy.
I like rats.
Pussy. I swear to you.
I've got a rat face.
Pussy.
He doesn't come on national TV.
Hold on. Let's objectively go. Let's objective experiences. Let's talk about objectively.
Let me give you statistics. Can I give you some? TYT Network. You're a family man. Anti-Zero. You're a family man.
I'll take a walk up. There's enough cameras here.
No statistics, bro.
Yeah.
No one means.
Thursday.
Yeah. That's my day off.
You know Sharon all right? He's very recognisable because everybody knows him.
Yes.
Ask him why he's got the handkerchief over his face.
You know.
Back up a little bit. Close to him. Back up. See how he needs to film you.
No, you get these guys to back up. I'm not moving. I'm not moving nowhere for you.
Are you like standing behind man or something?
Yeah, I like rats.
Aren't you,
I've
Omar?
got a rat fetish.
Aren't you, Omar?
I got a rat fetish. Remember, I was here first. I haven't moved.
You're dead shape up.
I'm next to my chessboard.
I'm ignoring you today, Raj.
He's a coconut. Hey, Boris, back up for CEO, you pussy.
Still in the same position.
There we go.
Because he married a white woman with white kids.
He's not one of you. There's nothing wrong with that. You're in about one of you. Do you
know who my wife is?
Listen,
you know who my wife is?
Imagine the wife is a Pakistani man. Look,
who's talking about? Have you seen that married to an Asian?
Imagine the wife. Imagine the wife.
He's been Muslim for 10 years. He's talking about it over as us.
You mean like he's studying Quillim, right? In 2017. When he said 85% of groomers are Pakistani men, yeah? Where did he get his certificate? He doesn't.
You love him, right? You love
him. All right, let's take a little wander and we'll come back here. All right, guys, we're going to have a little wander around. There's about 10 cameras there. So, and they're not on Raj as it happens at the moment. So let's see what else we can chat about here. A couple of passionate Muslims, to say the least, there, swearing and cursing at Raj. Here's our Zionist friend.
Well, the Palestinians can't go and sign a peace deal. It's in their interest. If they want a two-state solution, they could get it. Now you've got to ask yourself, why don't the Palestinians go and sign a peace deal? My theory is they don't want a two-state solution. They want it all. Their plan is to make Israel look really, really bad, so the whole world will turn against Israel. So what the Palestinians do, they start a riot, they get children to throw stones at soldiers, knowing that the soldiers will fire rubber bullets back, above their heads or at the ground, but occasionally, accidentally, one of those children will get hit. And that's what the Palestinians want. They believe that if a child dies in the cause, in their words, in the cause of Allah, that child goes straight to paradise. And their parents get given money from the Palestinian Authority in lieu of that. So they generate these problems so that Israel will react and overreact, and the Palestinians say, oh, these Jews, they're killing Palestinians, they're really bad people.
Oh my goodness. Can you still hear me, Stops? Stops, are you there? 1, 2, 3. Hello? I lost you there. Are you back? You're back now. You can hear me okay? Okay, cool. Christians look like they're sitting up. Oh, you mean Skype? Ah, okay.
God is telling you, I will bring back you.
For me, it's being prejudiced based solely on skin color would be my rough.
Then they should be staying in the paradise.
The reason why we pray.
No. They have obviously changed it somewhat. Some more police people.
Situation. Speaker's Corner, where you have face-to-face dialogue and limited number of characters, and you can respond and see the person in the eye, etc. It's very different to what purely Twitter is. What do you mean, the psychology of it? Oh yes, George Orwell, and a list of characters and individuals that have come here throughout time is amazing. Well, that... We do not see the equivalent of Marx coming to Speaker's Corner, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm not saying I agree with his politics, but this should be a place where people that are at the forefront of new thoughts and ideas, this should be the venue where they come, and throughout history it has been. It's not now, and that's another real loss of this place, that now it's schoolboy arguments between a Muslim and a Christian, or a Shia Muslim and a Sunni Muslim. That's not developing new thinking and new developments of thought and ideas at all.
I can see lots of police around here as well, so they're expecting more and more people now, presumably. No idea. As you can see, plenty of police around. Let's see this. Oh, here's our red cap fella. Red cap. He's the Trump supporter.
Really, if Obama was, if the economy was doing Obama, he would be going, well, Obama's doing good for the economy. I'm saying, yes, but it's like anything. It's like anything. It always goes to the leader. If an army does well in battle, let's just say, who gets the glory? The leader, the commander. Yes, the commander. It's not. The commander can't be charged for every soldier's action. He can be charged for 100,000 actions, but he still gets the credit. The captain of the ship is not always in charge of everything everyone does, but he still gets the credit. Yes, he is the commander of America. He is like the chief, he's the captain. Yes, the president is one man, but he does a lot. He does a lot. He helps implement him and his people help make decide decisions which lead to a good economy. He does. Like he does.
So what's Trump done that you agree with, what you think he's done well? Has he done anything well, what you're going to say? Because you seem to be, everything what Max says, you're going against him, because obviously, you're not Trumpist. I'm just saying, do you accept, though, that he has actually done something? Is there anything good that you think Trump's done? Or is he
didn't mess up anything too bad, and that's his move.
Has he actually done anything good in your eyes, though?
I wouldn't say he's done anything.
No, I'm saying, is there anything good that you can pat him on the back for and say, you're good with that?
Oh, yeah. Makes sense.
South Korea, that's a very good one.
North Korea.
Ronald Reagan did the same thing.
There's fertility rate in India. It's been dropping. Look where it is. It's now at replacement level, according to Google. And that soon means that if the trend continues, India is going to have a below replacement fertility rate. Does that mean India is continuing?
Here's Soko Films, and I think this is a Christian brother on this side.
Yeah,
not
Brother
sure
H, and this is a Muslim friend.
Ah, okay.
Talking about Christian theology and how Allah is not the same
Bob
word
here
for
today?
Bible. No, he's not here today.
Not today, okay.
The second thing we do is go to etymology. But I'm saying, I don't get it. What's wrong with that? Of course you don't get it. You're a Muslim. That's what we say to you.
That's just so I'm amazed. So basically, I'm using verses from your scripture. Like, I'm not standing from you. Then you can say, excuse me, I'm not a Muslim.
What's the two verses I'm studying? What's the two verses I'm studying?
Listen. He said, you're not listening. You're talking so much. You're not actually listening to the responses I'm giving to you.
What's the two verses
I'm
I'm
talking
studying?
about John 1:14 and John 1:1. So
No,
I'm trying to
argue
discuss.
that.
So I'm trying to discuss the verses. And what you're doing is saying, actually, don't use any other verses in the Bible.
I didn't say that.
I don't think there's anything
No,
wrong
he
with
didn't say
that.
that. He didn't say that.
There should be anything.
He didn't say that.
Are you serious? You asked if I didn't
You know what? All you've done so far, all you've done is just filibuster and argue about nonsense.
Okay, so maybe it's everyone.
John 1:1 and John 1:14.
Right, okay. And I have, but you're not listening. Right.
If you say so.
Basically, in the beginning was the word, right? So I asked you.
Don't ask me.
I'm
Speak.
speaking. So, in the beginning was the word. So I'm asking you, does the word exist eternally with the Father? That's the first question I'm asking.
Don't ask questions, make statements.
Yeah, don't ask.
Make
You did the same thing last time,
Make
bro.
statements. You know why I'm saying this? You know why I'm saying this? Do you know why I'm saying this? The reason why I'm saying don't ask questions. Listen.
Whether they're particularly interested. Oh, there's Stops You Love It. There's Hatun. You want to get an earful of that? We've got more police sort of floating around in the middle of Speaker's Corner now. You can also see the police have got more of a presence spread out across the park at the moment. Not a lot, but Here's
please, when they lost the battle of the Meccans, has to leave. He has to leave Medina after this battle, and then the Muslims went to the fortress of Malaysia. They did the attack the fortress and they surrendered.
What's that? No, it's an elderly fellow. I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah. How's the Betty relationship?
Hey!
How's the relationship with Betty?
Yeah, no, wonderful. She's
You clashed with James. And respect.
slightly emotional. Just a little, huh?
Are they going to go back on the Google Hangouts?
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's not a great deal of use if somebody brings emotion to a logical argument. It's like coming, like I say, that you don't come with boxing gloves to a chess match.
Exactly. So wait, you was over there. So what are they talking about over there?
They are. Well, it was Raj was sitting there, and then I think there's a Tommy Robinson supporter there. So they're all crowding around him at the moment and challenging him on the grooming gangs and all that sort of stuff. So. But there's lots of cameras over there, so there'll be tons of recordings of it. So, what else have we got here? Yeah, we've got the undercover, not undercover Omar. Everybody knows what he looks like, and it's like Superman, putting on something over his mouth and going. Hey.
You all right? A lot of police interest this week.
I know. I'm just speaking to Stops now, and he was saying there's a lot of police interest. Hey, you can hear you over here.
Okay, we had a meeting with the police last week again, and we said you need to get the numbers down here because what's happened over the last 3 or 4 weeks, absolutely crazy, and it's got to be tackled. So I'm really chuffed to see that we've got van loads of police here. But people say, "What's happening? What's happening?" Nothing's happening other than they're here to try and reduce the nonsense that's been going on for the last few weeks.
Ah, okay, cool. So
people are saying, "Oh, EDL coming, or EDL
coming."
Oh,
I thought there was some people coming. FLA, FL, is it that?
No,
okay.
Not that I've heard of.
I thought there was somebody coming at 12, but obviously nobody was here that I could see.
So I'm not aware of any specific groups coming here. They're here, as they told me during the week, to reduce the slippery slope of Muslim and gang intimidation and violence that's been going on week in, week out. But I see that as well as the police, there's quite a lot of journalists and.
I saw Channel 4.
Channel 4 and RT apparently both here.
Oh, it's RT as well.
I was just speaking
Russia Today for those who don't know.
Someone from the BBC, bizarrely, but they're from the Spanish language bit of the BBC.
Right, okay.
Anything's helpful.
Yeah. I mean, they need to stay until it's dark.
Well, that's what I've said.
And we need to get floodlights in here, and ideally, in time, CCTV cameras would be good. So we can.
There is some already, but
are there? Well, they're well hidden.
Particularly, I'd spot them.
I don't see any. So maybe they're hidden cameras, but you still need to have light unless they're infrared, and that's difficult.
Is that the Channel 4 guy over there?
No, that guy over there. That's just there. That guy is, I think, some German independent news.
Okay.
So no, that's not Channel 4.
I know someone just said to me, they're only here for the negative and to film the negative as it kicks off, but. It's making me think any media coverage on this space is good.
Yes, you want to have it covered, and as you know, we've always suggested that.
So where's the Channel 4 one?
I haven't. I thought there was one.
Someone else just told me.
Yeah, but I'm not sure where they are or how long they're going to be here.
IT like a nice ruck, don't they, to film?
RT? Yeah, they're always looking for. Plus, I think they all are looking for some drama. As I say, there's one there. I think there was another one over here. This is the sort of Raj is in there, but he's kind of standing to one side, and then we've got a Tommy Robinson supporter, I think, and he's being surrounded by various non-supporters.
Has Raj got his chest set?
Yes, he's brought his chest set. So if you walk around to the edge here, I think we might see it. If you walk over here, possibly we'll see it. Because COE's got his camera here. I don't know if we can actually see it here. Not there. So here's COE's kit. Look at that stuff there. You can't really see it, but about over there is where Raj's kit is. That's Raj there, and that's his kit down there. So that's where we're at. There's Andy from Speaker's Corner. But we don't have, it's good to see so many police here, but we don't have well, there we go, stop. So hopefully that's answered your question for the police. It's a full-on professional camera. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Man, you've got the best seat in the house. I know. I know. Sorry guys, if you're watching, there's just not a lot going on. There's the Raj thing, but I mean they're not speaking to Raj and he's not speaking to them as much as they're crowding around the Tommy Robinson supporter. He's a single guy on his own from what I can tell. Here's our Zionist friend. He's now got a fairly big audience.
Israeli company that are factory Palestine, employing Palestinians, about 700 of them. It's because of the boycotts, Israel, the company, has moved that factory out of the West Bank into Israel. So 750 Palestinians lost their jobs. The same thing is now happening to a group called Ahava, who make gypsy products. They are moving now out of the West Bank into Israel. So yes, a couple of thousand Palestinians have lost their jobs because of the boycotts. And incidentally, that means a couple of thousand Israelis have now got jobs, the ones that the Palestinians used to have. So it doesn't help the Palestinians boycotting Israeli products.
Here's our man that interrupted Jamie when he was having a conversation. This fella over here, that guy there. Hiya.
Do you mind if I ask you some questions?
Sure, go ahead. I'll just do it. We're live streaming, so I hope that's okay. I keep on the live stream. Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Which way are you from? Peru. Oh, okay. Welcome to Speaker's Corner. Your first time?
Second time.
Second time. Okay, welcome.
I'm doing a story about Speaker's Corner for the Latin American audience.
Yes, yeah, sure. Well, point them to my channel because they've lots of videos to watch there as well.
What's the name of your channel?
Speaker's Corner UK. Nice and easy. Speaker's Corner UK. One word. If you look that up on YouTube, you'll see these live streams and lots of videos. And people can watch some of the videos.
Speaker's Corner UK on YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube, yes, that's right.
What's your name?
My name is Rob.
Your surname?
I just go by Rob Speaker's Corner. It's best not to give lots of details out. We've in the past there's been threats to certain individuals. Some of their houses have been, addresses have been put online, etc. So we need to be a bit cautious, unfortunately. Most people are not like that, but unfortunately there's a few. No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So you were telling me that in the past there have been people
Yes, so there's been threats of violence. There's been some violence in Speaker's Corner, and some people's address has been put online, their children's address. It's not a lot, so I'm not saying that it's a huge epidemic, but it has happened in the past. And it's in my experience, I can only speak from my experience, it's been people who have been highly critical of Islam. And again, it's not all Muslims, it's a few select Muslims or their supporters that have wanted to dox, as it's sometimes called in the Western world, dox, i.e. put their personal details online in an attempt to somehow sabotage their private lives.
When did you start this YouTube channel?
I started about 2.5 years ago. I came down, I was interested in what people believe and why, and I started to have conversations, and I came regularly for probably 1.5 years, and now I've moved a long way away, so I only come once a month maybe, something like that. Now we live stream the conversations. I'm about 200 miles away, so it takes me 3.5 hours to get here.
Why did you start the channel? Why did you start the channel?
Because I saw a lot of other people recording, and I thought it would be interesting for people out there to hear the conversations going on. And in particular, if people care about what is true, to analyze what's being said between people so they can make up their own mind. Go and do their own research and find out for themselves. Don't believe what people tell you, go and do your own research. See what makes sense and look it up for yourself.
So when you come, what time do you usually come?
I sort of turn up around 1 o'clock, and depending how I need to get home, I have to go at 7 or 8.
What do you do? You try to record a bit of everything?
Yes, I try to find conversations. I know some people because I've come here for a while, and those people that have come here regularly, we kind of recognize each other. And so it depends. I will look around to see who's saying what and broadcast the ones I think are interesting to people that are watching.
And you had seen that others were already recording and streaming this live. Have you ever watched this?
Yes, when I'm not here, then I watch somebody else's live stream. There's a fellow over there that live streams almost every Sunday. So if I'm not here, then I will watch somebody else's live stream if I'm not busy with family things on other days.
What do you like about the speakers?
I think supposedly the free speech, which is under attack here, but that's what I think is important. The ability or the right people have to express their ideas. Whether we agree with it or not, there's a right to express it, which I think is fundamentally important and should be protected with all the resources and manpower necessary in a free society.
And what changes have you seen in Speakers Corner since you first started coming?
I think what's happened is the level of intellectual conversation has gone down, and the level of emotion and some level of thuggery has gone up. Hence we have so many police here at the moment. We've had some, let's call them provocative speakers, that have targeted certain groups that, in my view, are not able to handle the criticism, and then they want to resort to violence and threats. And so we now have a police presence that is, as you can see, quite visible here because of complaints from other people who've been here for years, and this has never happened in the past. So it's become more violent, the level of conversation has gone down.
When you first started, was there any police presence?
Sorry, second?
When you first started coming, was there any police presence?
Almost none. I mean, there was one regular policeman that would cycle through once in a while, but it's escalated in the last few months at least, maybe over the last 6 months, but it's certainly escalated recently. We've had Tommy Robinson supporters down here. We've obviously had the regular Muslims. We've had other sort of more fundamentalist Muslims that won't deny ISIS. So we've had sort of, people on both sides that have come down, and it's not always been a friendly intellectual conversation.
So what do you say, in order of importance, what are the most controversial topics here?
Typically it's religion and talking about race. So those are the two big ones. And it's more so, again, some Muslims don't appreciate it. Whereas the Christians, you can say almost anything. They won't like it, but they will walk away or do whatever. There's certain Muslims that not only do they not like it, but they want to prevent it from being said.
One would think, outside the UK, one would think that the topic that people talk the most about would be Brexit. I don't see people.
No, there isn't. There's a couple here now and again. There'll be anti or pro Brexit, but they are very small. Maybe one or two people on a day like this. It's primarily religion, race, a little bit of social topics as well.
Do you think this reflects the concerns of the public opinion? Is Islam a bigger issue than Brexit right now?
That's hard to say. I think people are concerned about both, and it depends which perspective you're coming from. But I think Tommy Robinson has shone a light on some of the issues that have been going on, and I think a great deal of the public are paying attention to that they weren't before. And so, and of course he's had a trial again recently where there were quite a few people, lots of live streams. So yes, I think that those issues are being brought out, but between the two it's hard to tell. I mean, I can't tell you.
Wait a second, I'm going to change the battery.
Sure. So I'll be just finishing a quick little interview with this lovely lady from a Peruvian news channel, and then we'll carry on wandering around.
Do you get to see the comments of people at the same time that you're...
Sorry, say again?
Do you get to see the comments of the...
Yes, I can see some of the comments on live here. One person was asking, and I think you did answer it, but he might not have heard you. Why are you down here, looking at this from Peru?
Yes. Well, I live here. I live here.
Oh, you live here?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so you're reporting back
Yes.
to Peru. Is there anything like this in Peru? An area where people can speak freely?
Nothing.
No. Is there free speech in Peru?
Yes, and there are some squares where there is like sort of a stage that anyone can use.
Yes.
But it's mostly comedians.
Ah, okay, so people don't come out and express their views like they do here. What would happen, do you think, if people did? Would they be allowed to, or would they be stopped?
I think there would be a lot of violence too.
Really?
Because Peruvians are very, not violent, but they don't respect other people's opinion.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
So when you first coming, was Islam already a big issue here in the park?
Yes, I haven't been here that long, as I say, 2.5 years. That was still the dominant narrative at the park. If you speak to some of the people that have been here a lot longer, they will tell you that it was primarily social and political in the past. So it's changed probably over the last 10 years, I would imagine, something like that. But I haven't been here long enough to say when that transition sort of happened and how quickly it happened. But it is the dominant narrative at the park at the moment.
And what's the most brilliant discussion that you've heard in this park?
What is the most?
The most brilliant discussion that you've heard?
A friend of mine who comes down here by the name of Skydive Phil, he's very well read, and I think his positions and his arguments are very, very good. And so whenever he's here, then I'm always interested to listen. I learn a lot, and he's critical of Islam, and he knows a lot about science in particular. So I like the intellectual conversations. I'm not that interested so much in the drama, but I mean there is drama and it's hard to avoid. So.
Like besides Islam, like is there like any topic that you didn't know about and you found out because you came here, Speaker's Corner, and heard someone talking about it?
Yes, I mean things like flat Earth, which I thought no human being in the 21st century would believe, and yet there are people that believe this. We've got some vegans here as well that are doing that. The Baha'i religion, I've obviously learnt a little bit, not much, but I've spoken to Sikhs and Hindus, so you do get exposed to different ideas here. And then my question is, what do you believe and why do you believe it? Because if you've got a good reason, then I'm interested to know what it is.
And do you get any money from the channel?
No, I mean, when I say no, it's like £1 or a couple of quid or something like that. But most of my videos are demonetized because they're from Speaker's Corner. So YouTube demonetizes them. So immediately I can't get any revenue from them anyway. So yes, YouTube's got algorithms that is very tight in the sense that it prevents anything that might be controversial from being monetized.
So how do you know I imagine that you bought all this equipment for coming here.
Yes, I had it ready for something else, but I modified it slightly to allow it to come here and for me to record for hours and hours until I go home, basically.
And can you explain what it is?
So this is a gimbal that keeps the phone stable, and then we've got a mic on there, 2 mics, so people can hear me, and then we live stream straight to YouTube. So on the channel that you wrote down, you will see this live stream happening right now.
How much would you say that you have invested? How much would you say that you have invested?
I mean, well, as I said, I didn't invest this necessarily specifically for Speaker's Corner, but this is probably maybe £200 in total.
What personal satisfaction do you get from it?
Coming in challenging what I consider bad ideas. And so when somebody gives me ideas, I will critique the idea. If it's good, I will agree with it. If it's not, I will challenge them.
I mean from
The fact that I can get the conversations out to the wider public. There's a lot of people around the world that are very interested in watching. We get hundreds and hundreds of viewers and thousands of views. Some of the Muslim channels get tens of thousands of views. So there's a lot of people, because they don't have this anywhere else or almost nowhere else. People are very interested in seeing these conversations here that they can learn from, they can judge if they want to. So I think the satisfaction is getting it out there to the wider public.
So you get like thousands of viewers in one day?
I probably get a couple of hundred. Some of the other channels here will maybe get, if it's a big event like a Tommy Robinson coming down or something else, there'll be thousands. But normally when I'm watching, maybe I get a couple of hundred viewers. Some of the bigger channels might have 500 viewers live. But then after the live stream is finished, you can still watch it as a recording, and it still gets thousands of views afterwards as well. So there's a lot of interest in what's going on in Speaker's Corner.
And you only do it for Speaker's Corner, you don't do it for any other event?
I live too far away. If I was closer, I would cover maybe some other events, protests, whatever. But I live 200 miles away, so to come in for a small event is not worthwhile. So I make a special effort once a month, maybe thereabouts, to come in here.
And do you know a little bit about the history of Speakers Corner?
Not a lot, other than it was the place where speakers would have their last speech before they were executed, and it kind of stayed. And then at some point, some time back, Parliament passed an act which said that this was a free speech zone, or supposedly free speech. That hasn't quite been the case recently. My view is that the police should remove anybody that is likely to or does incite violence or commits violence, and we should allow anybody to say anything they want apart from directly inciting violence. So if somebody said, hey, let's kill that guy over there, then I would expect that person to be removed. But anything else, I think, should be allowed to be said, even if you don't agree with it. No, I don't think the police have done what I would have considered a better job, because on multiple occasions they have removed the particular controversial speaker instead of protecting that speaker. And my view is they should protect the speaker at all costs, with whatever personnel is required. We have a number of police here. We have a lot more, 10 times as many police policing Twitter to see if anybody says something mean on Twitter. And I think the priorities are badly skewed.
They removed the speaker without the speakers wanting to leave.
Yes, they've asked speakers to leave, or they've escorted them out, even sometimes against their will.
Isn't that against the spirit of speakers?
Correct. But because they've had low police numbers, the easiest option is to get rid of the one controversial person as opposed to the 5, 6 or 10 potential hostile people.
What do you think people, because there are some people that it seems that they come looking for those who think exactly the opposite from them and look for confrontation?
Yes, I think, some people do come for that. I think a lot of people come here because they're going to be challenged by views that they don't agree with. But you're right, there is a smaller minority, maybe growing unfortunately, that come here for the conflict and the drama rather than the intellectual discussion, unfortunately.
Why do you think they look for that? Because they have enough drama in that?
No, and I think a lot of people with what I would call a low psychological level of education are drawn to drama. And so, if you don't have a compelling life, then you're going to be drawn to drama. And we see it a lot. Some of the people I know you have got, when they do a live stream, 400 or 500 people on, and it's mostly about drama. And we go online and do a more intellectual discussion or conversation, and we get a quarter of the views. So people are drawn to that.
Do you think that because of the internet, now that you have an idea, you can just put it online, you don't need to have
I mean, you can do that, and I think that's where the smartest people in the world are. They're not here. This is not the hive of intellectual excellence, I can assure you. And yes, you can do it out there, but I think the face-to-face is what draws people here. Like I can speak to you. We could do it on Skype, or we could do it, on the phone. But there's something different about having the conversation face-to-face. I think that's what is attractive for people.
But is it maybe because we are not communicating enough in our daily lives?
Yes, that could be. Although I participate in a number of discussions online with a panel of people. So I think those people who are interested can find people online, so they don't have to necessarily come here. But if you are in the vicinity, or you can make it down here, it is an interesting experience, as you've hopefully found out, to at least come and find out what it's all about.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All the best.
Hello. I ask you about your battery pack. I wanted to get one where you can put 2 things in there.
Sorry, what are you looking for?
Your battery pack. What?
It's just iMuto.
And you can put your 2 things in there, yeah. And what about this little grip? Does that come with the microphone?
No, you buy this white piece separately. It's a gimbal, and this is a Zhiyun, Z-H-I-Y-U-N, Zhiyun.
Z-H-I-Y-U-N.
Correct, yeah.
And does that come with the microphone, the attachment piece?
No, the attachment you've got to buy separately, and the microphone you've got to buy separately.
And how do you know what to ask for that attachment?
This is just called O-ring for Smooth 4. O, like O for Smooth, is the name of the gimbal, Zhiyun Smooth 4. It's a specific ring that fits this one. It's called the Smooth 4. Yeah. Smooth, opposite of rough, smooth falls.
Cool, I like that. Yeah. Oh, great. And the microphone is called a...
That's a Rode Video Micro, R-O-D-E.
Rode DE.
Video Micro, one word. Video Micro. C-R-O, one word, yeah.
And the...
that comes with it.
Oh, that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Now, this little microphone here, is that separately to your phone? Or?
Yes, I can't remember the name of that
You
one,
can't
to be
remember
honest.
that one.
No. I mean, you won't need this if you... the only reason I have two is so people can hear me.
Yes.
But if you're just filming other people, then you only need the front one.
Well,
so if you're going to communicate...
I really want to be really excellent, you know. That
Say again? 20 to 4. 20 to 4.
And then how does one go about to do live stream?
You just need an app on your phone. Like YouTube is on your phone, and you can stream with YouTube on your phone.
You can stream with YouTube directly. Oh, great.
Sorry? I'm over 40, let's just say that. Between 40 and 50.
Wonderful way you communicate.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're doing a great job of communicating.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, sir.
I just want to be able to, you know, kind of...
Come and do it yourself. Yeah, do the same. If you can do that, the more we can have live streams to get this out, I think is great.
It's wonderful really to have conversations.
Exactly. We want to be having more conversations and less violence.
That's right, absolutely. And I didn't want to buy a Samsung A0 phone, or I was going to use a GoPro as well.
Yes, the new GoPro can stream live. So the Hero 7 that's come out can stream live.
Same as yesterday, John Lewis was thinking.
Make sure you get the new one.
Yeah.
It's the black one.
It's the black one.
Hero Black. You can stream live from it, yeah.
And your little X-ray zoom.
Well, that's just a wide-angle adapter. But if you get a GoPro, you don't need that.
You don't need that?
No.
Just say, if I got that GoPro, I wouldn't use it.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'll come back to you, sir.
If I got the GoPro 7, would I need a phone?
Yes, you need the phone as the way to live stream.
Oh, the way to live
stream. So you need the GoPro plus the phone.
I tend to use Android phone.
That'll still work, yeah. The software on there will work, yeah. Because GoPro make the app that connects to the camera, and that'll allow you to live stream.
Would a Samsung 8 be, say, good enough?
Yeah, that's fine.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, anything that can live stream will work fine for you. Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, could I use a Samsung 8 with some kind of a cover to keep it safe, or do you have to just slip it in as it is?
You just slip it in. I mean, it's got a small cover on it. But if you email me, I can send you more details. So speakerscorneruk@gmail.com. Very easy. Yeah, so email me and say we spoke. And if you want anything, I'll give you some advice.
That's great. So you need the phone really to have the
live stream.
Live stream from GoPro.
Correct.
But the GoPro 7 is as good as the other one.
Yes, that's the new one. That's the only one that can live stream properly.
John Lewis yesterday. Or 199.
No, it's not that one. You're looking at 399 or 379 somewhere around there. Make sure it's the GoPro Hero 7. Number 7. Yeah, black. Must be black. None of the others will.
Oh, great. I look forward to that. Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir.
Yeah, I'm Martin.
Rob. Martin, very nice to meet you. I am indeed, yes.
God bless you, Rob.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Hey, stop. So you still there? Sorry, I sort of got caught with that, but hopefully she takes something from that. Let's go and see what's going on. Exactly. Oh, we can go and listen over there.
All these doctrines that are established in the Council of Nicaea.
We've got more people now. Let's see what's going on here. Lots of cameras over here. Look at this. Tons of cameras there. With Hashim, and I think that's a Christian. Some people call him Paperboy for some reason. I'm not sure what that means, but he's obviously, I don't know if that's a nickname or a cursing. I don't know.
For the justice of God, and the justice of God requires death for sin. And that's why Jesus Christ was willing to go through that death.
I do hope this fella doesn't get himself a heart attack. He does look like he's working hard here, the Christian. There we can see some more police vans. We've got a good 4 cars there at the moment. 3 vans and potentially an undercover car there. So good to see a lot more of the police presence here.
It was Jesus Christ who suffered on that cross because the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, nailed on the above his cross Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews.
Why did he retire?
Yes, it's as Christopher Hitchens said, you were born ill and commanded to be well. Yes. Well, it's got an emotional attachment, I think, as well. If it's true, nobody wants to go to hell. So I think the emotional moral argument is quite strong. But, let's go over and see if there's still something happening with Raj and that lot. Here's Zachariah. I think he's trying to look like Muhammad. He's all dressed in his outfit. There we go. What a different guy he was. Yeah, you don't get much of a coherent conversation with him, unfortunately. He's very different from the Seventh-day Adventist. Yeah.
10 there with no one there.
So in the first Gulf War, which I spent 13 months in jail in the United States for,
These gentlemen are supporters of Julian Assange, by the look of it.
TV time. What you saw was the smart bombs. That was 5%. The way the first Gulf War opened was 8 B-52s took off from their base in Louisiana.
Our vegan man is still here, going strong. Our man in his uniform is still going here as well, with his racist placards. Hey, Ash, how are you doing, man?
How are you doing?
Good. When are you coming on our show?
Next spirituality show, which will be, I believe, Wednesday, isn't it?
Do you want to come on the Gin and Tonic? Yeah. Okay.
I will.
Cool.
I've been a bit busy, but I'll definitely come on. Yeah.
So Stops, you okay to be on camera?
Oh, well.
Okay. Stops, you'll see him in a moment. This is Ash. We had a conversation last week. So Ash is of the Sufi view. So he believes Islam is true, that it's the direct dictation of God's word through Muhammad, but he obviously has the Sufi perspective, so perhaps we can have him on the show, and because he yes, I'm sure we can. So we can have a show. Have you got contact? Have we got details we can get off? Yeah. We can also get. Okay, brilliant. We'll arrange for you to come on and have a conversation.
By the way, I don't really focus so much on Islam. You've got to remember, when I say mysticism, I'm talking about the common thread that runs through all religions. It's
yes.
Mystical. So
I guess what we would ask you, and we didn't get a chance last time, is really the tie between the mysticism and Islam. Why not a tie between mysticism and Christianity or pantheism or something? Okay. So maybe that's a conversation we can have. Like you can say, okay, the reason here's my mystic view.
I never link it to just Islam. I would say I actually believe that there's like the Dharmic faiths, the Buddhist faith and the Hindu faith. They have similar concepts and precepts to Islamic mysticism. So it's exactly the same. I don't differentiate between Vedantic spirituality or Dharmic spirituality and Islamic mysticism.
Okay, so you think they're all kind of similar?
Yes, and I'll elaborate that.
Yeah, we can do that more on the day. Because I guess my concern for you to take away and think about one of my concerns would be if you think that the Quran is the direct dictated word of God through Muhammad, and that contradicts some other religions, then how does one reconcile that?
Okay, so
something to think about. I mean, you don't have to. You can if you want to.
It is, but I think it's just an extension of mysticism of other faiths is the Islamic mysticism. So it's basically a common belief, but the tenets of religion there's variation in that. So what I mean is religions will have their tenets, and but mysticism is irrespective of those. So there's a code of conduct.
So if that's the case, what is it that contributes? What do the religions contribute to mysticism? Because I guess my question could be, can you not have mysticism without the religions?
Good question.
Very good question. Now, you can have mysticism without a mainstream religion, but you cannot have mysticism without a belief in a creator, or sorry, you can't even say creator, sorry.
Yeah.
Without a divine essence, I would call it.
Does that divine essence have to be conscious, an agency, be able to make decisions, or can that just be the energy that permeates the entire universe?
Correct. It can be anything you want it to be, but it has to be a divine essence or consciousness that basically has permeates or manifests within creation. So what I mean by that is the whole of creation, in my point of view, is a manifestation of that divine essence.
Okay, but I would say that the whole of creation is the manifestation of the laws of physics and the Big Bang, or the consequence of the Big Bang. So I'm using more, I guess, down-to-earth scientific terms. Right. Do you agree with that? And if not, because your terms sound to be more like vague, whereas mine, we might be saying the same thing, but I'm using words that.
But you're rationalising it more.
Yes, things that we can. That are more concrete per se. Yeah. Because the more vague you go, the more anybody can associate anything with it, I think.
True.
Is the concern. So when you say divine, I'm like, what do you mean by divine? Is it just the laws? If you mean by divine the laws of physics, cool, but that's not normally how most people talk about divine. When I speak to people, normally divine is some thinking agent that can make decisions, that has supernatural ability. So normally the word divine for me is associated with more than just the laws of physics or dark matter or whatever it may be.
But I think the divine transcends the laws of physics, because if you look at the creation of the universe, there was an uncaused cause of the universe.
Well, we don't know that.
Okay.
We definitely don't know
with
that.
the presumption that there's the uncaused cause.
Okay, but we can't do that. We can't do presumptions. Okay, if you watch and listen to my friend Phil, he will explain it from a scientific point of view. We can't say that. And anybody that wants to claim it, in a long conversation with another Muslim here a couple of weeks back, if you're going to claim that there is an uncaused, in fact, if there's a cause of the universe, you need some evidence. And there isn't scientific evidence. There's hypotheses that say there's an eternal universe, there's a caused universe, or a universe that had a beginning, but we don't have good reasons to believe one over the other yet.
Let's come at it from a philosophical angle then. Now, if you look at the Aristotelian view of the universal and the forms, when he talks about the forms or the objects of creation being inextricably linked to a universal, whereas Plato talks about there's a differentiation between the universal and the forms. So the Aristotelian view is slightly different to the Platonic view, but it states that the forms somehow are they have a universal origin. Okay.
Yes.
Because you have the universal and the forms. And the forms.
What is a form? Give us an example of a form.
Like that tree.
Okay.
You are a form.
So an object within the universe.
Yes.
Okay. So a collection of matter and energy.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say universe, because there could be multiverse. So.
Okay, but Aristotle presumably didn't suggest
creation.
that was the case.
No, he didn't. But creation. Sorry, I have to say creation. We can't really say universe, so we have to say creation.
Okay, but creation is question begging though, so we've got to be careful with the word creation. We could just say what exists in reality as far as we know. Because if you say creation, then I'm going to ask you, on what basis are you saying creation? What do you mean by it?
Okay, so what I'm basically trying to say, from a mystical perspective, the forms and the universal, there is no difference between the two.
Okay.
Now, so in other words, the transcendental and the immanent are one and the same thing.
Okay, but we haven't got to the point where we know that a transcendental actually exists. If presumably you mean something that is outside of the current universe that we exist. Is that what you mean by transcendental?
It's not.
Or is it something that exists within this universe?
It's not actually outside, and it's actually both. So what I'm trying to say is the whole of existence is that one transcendental being.
Okay, but we need to. That to me is very vague language, and I mean, when you say being, again, I'm thinking of a conscious entity of some kind that has tremendous power and that's attempting to or has communicated. Do you think this being has communicated with human beings?
Indeed.
You have, and it's
Indeed.
through Muhammad and the book, right?
Not just through Muhammad, but throughout history, through various religions and faiths and beliefs. I don't just pin it down to just Islam. I would pin it down to there are different forms, there's different societies where that kind of message has got through. But I believe that. See, I believe that this belief in this transcendental entity and the unity of existence, this whole belief, is veiled from us, right? What I mean by that is we are all, to a certain level or extent, ignorant of this particular knowledge.
Does this transcendental entity want us to know about this?
Absolutely.
Okay, so and if so, it seems to me that all the religions are given very vague information. And the question that I always ask people is, whichever religion it is, did he want to send us a clear, concise and complete message for all people to understand for all time? And if that is the case, I would expect a better message than has ever been sent so far. So I'm yet to see a message that will convince me of that proposition.
Okay, in the Quran it says Allah states, or God states, I don't even like to name this divine essence. So this divine essence is stated, I was a hidden treasure and longed to be known. Now that indicates that this transcendent entity, or this divine essence, wants creation to acknowledge his existence or her existence. You can't even say his or her.
Its existence, right? Yes.
Yeah, but that's actually a disrespectful. So sometimes you say his with a capital H.
Okay.
Just out of
hers,
anyway.
whatever.
But
anyway. Can he do that?
Can he what?
Can he, if there's this supposedly longing for all human beings to know of him or it, can he instantly and accurately and completely give them that information?
He already has. Now you're probably
How
saying where?
and yes.
Right. Okay. Now, this is a good question. Now
it couldn't have been from the Quran or religion, right?
No.
Okay.
It's not from. But it's associated with religion. Now, what I mean by that is these figures throughout history, Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad, Jesus, these figures were the embodiment of that spiritual teaching. Now, what I'm trying to say is they, in the perfectest sense, have removed the veils of ignorance from their understanding of this divine entity or this divine essence. So they had reached to that extent of spiritual heights that they basically realized that they were not separate from the divine essence in themselves. Does that make sense?
Okay, so we've got a few special people that have got to this level, presumably. Does God want everybody to get to the level, or do we need to understand it through these special people?
That's a good question. Now, God obviously wants His creation to acknowledge Him. Okay, but there's gradations in this. Now, if everybody in the whole world understood this secret knowledge or this spiritual mysticism and knew the actual crux of it, it would not be a diversified world of multiplicity. We would have everyone knowing the truth. Okay?
Is that not a good thing?
It's actually not, because then what would be the purpose of existence? Now, the spiritual mystical journey is a journey whereby you, through that journey, through a long process of suffering, even pain, or it doesn't necessarily have to be suffering and pain, it can be life experiences or events, will make you come to that realization that there is this divine entity, and that we are inextricably linked to it, but we are of the same substance as that divine essence.
Okay, but then again, presumably this entity gave us the ability to reason, to feel pain, to have whatever it may be that we want to have in life.
Correct.
And my question, as an outside observer, is that the best way to do it? To have people to suffer, to have confusion in the world, because I think we're clear there's a lot of confusion, there's different interpretations within Islam or anything else. And I don't accept a priori that the best way is to have confusion and to have suffering in the world in order to know it. Because you're in danger of having many people, the vast majority in fact of the human race, not understanding it clearly, and then presumably there's some kind of judgment at the end, right?
Well, as I said, suffering is not the only way. Now, you see, what I believe is that our soul, basically our existence, our soul, is divided into three parts. We have the higher self, the higher soul, the lower self, okay, the lower aspect, and then the barzakh, which is the middle way, okay. So what I think happens is our lower self goes through a transmutation. It's like an alchemical reaction that occurs within us. What happens is the lower self transmutes to the higher self.
Okay.
Basically, our egos, it's called nafs in Arabic. Our egos are our lower self.
Is this
the lower aspect
so
of our
the
soul.
information you're giving me now, your perspective, is this drawn primarily from the Quran?
No.
Okay.
But it's in the Quran.
Okay, so
it's metaphorically in the Quran. Now I'm going to touch upon a verse metaphorically in the Quran which states this very fact.
Okay.
You have something called the barzakh, which is between the salt water and the fresh water. The salt water being very unpalatable, yeah. The salt water being the nafs or the lower self, and the fresh water being the higher state of consciousness or the higher spirit, okay, which is called the ruha or the soul. The higher aspect of the soul. That's the fresh water, and it says there's a barzakh, there's a barrier between the two, and you can see that in nature, by the way. There is a barrier that exists between the fresh water and salt water where the two don't mix.
Okay, I've got my friend Stops in here, and he's suggesting that that's not true. In reality, that the barrier is not there's no perceptible barrier.
Okay, forget the geographical kind of explanation for the barzakh. Okay, anyway, what I'm saying is, from a spiritual perspective, the lower self transmutes into the higher self through a touchstone or a philosopher's stone. Now this is where the philosopher's stone comes in. That's why I was saying it's an alchemical reaction, and that's why not everybody can go through this process. They have to have some spiritual input.
And those like me that haven't had that, what about me? And I want to know if this God exists, because I come here, I speak to lots of people. So people like me that haven't been through it, if I die, what then? Presumably God hasn't done his job. It's not my fault, right?
Not at all. It's not your fault. Nobody's blaming you.
So then we have to point the finger at God, who has not been able to presumably get the message across to me clearly and concisely.
But I think we as divine beings, because you have to remember that we are the one and the same substance as the divine essence. So we have free will.
Yeah, but how does that help me if he hasn't revealed himself in a way that I can feel like the evidence and reasons are good? Whether I've got free will or not, how does that impact me?
But he may have revealed himself to you, but you just didn't recognize the signs.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a cop out there.
Well,
that's an easy escape. So, in other words, he can never be held to account. And I want to hold him to account. If I'm looking for him, I'm speaking to people, I'm investigating, and I'm not finding any of the answers or any good reasons or evidence to believe it. So I'm pointing my finger squarely at him, because he's the infallible, all-powerful, all-perfect creator that's supposed to be able to send this message, and he's not sending it clearly. And when I come here, I get every single version contradicts or is different or has another interpretation. And to me, that's exactly what I would expect from human beings that didn't know anything at the time and have passed it on, and other human beings have added to it. It's not what I expect from an all-powerful creator.
When you say he is this infallible, ultimate divine entity, I would say that you are the same. You are also that.
Well, I'm clearly not. I'm demonstratively not.
We have to look within. We have to look within, find that within us.
Okay, but when I say infallible, I mean an inerrant, meaning that I cannot be wrong and I cannot make mistakes, and that's clearly not the case for me.
So they want to lead us.
And it's clearly, presumably, the case that most religious people believe of their gods.
But how do you? Hang on. How do you? What would you view as being a mistake or a sin? You see, this is all.
Well, I'm not using the word sin. I mean a mistake. I.e., I say that it's 50 meters to that man standing on the platform, and in fact it's 40. So I'm mistaken about how far away that man is on the platform over there.
Okay, but
as a simple example.
But that doesn't make you in any way.
That makes me fallible and errant. I.e., I can make errors, and I'm not perfect. I.e., whatever I say, I can be wrong about.
Yeah. Okay. Nobody is perfect.
Okay, so then we're not quite like the divine, are we? Because the divine is perfect and inerrant, cannot make a mistake. Correct. So in that sense, we're not like the divine at all.
We're not, because we, as I said, we are veiled from that divine. Now, there are veils of ignorance which exist.
Who put up those veils of ignorance?
Obviously, that's how it was designed from the start.
Okay, so God put up the veils of ignorance to prevent people from clearly understanding
it. As I said,
it.
if you just disclosed everything, we would be overpowered by this knowledge.
I think who says that? Why?
No, hang on. If he lifted the veils for everyone,
yes,
there wouldn't be that spiritual journey for anyone then, would there?
Well, it depends. I mean, you could still go, okay, is this true? You could still investigate it, because just because something is revealed, we're not just going to a priori accept it, are we? We're still going to investigate it. But how about this? Why would he not lift the veil for, let's say, half the planet, or the top IQ people, as opposed to a few prophets that lived 1,000 or 2,000 years ago that didn't understand anything about the world or very little about the world? If he could do it today with 1 million people today, and they all said the same thing, and they had these pearls of wisdom that nobody else could do, now they'd have my attention.
But he has actually lifted. No, the veil has been. I can't say he has, because you got to remember. I think that humans are divine in origin anyway, but have divine entity within them. What I'm saying is, if you look at Averroes, now Ibn Rushd in the Arabic, he was the great mind of his time. He was like the top philosopher. Okay, Averroes. Have you heard of Averroes?
I've heard of him,
okay, so Averroes stated, I mean, he actually came to the conclusion through rational inquiry that there is this divine entity, right?
Some say it's through irrational inquiry that you come to know about this entity. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Okay. He came to that conclusion through rational inquiry, and he came to the conclusion that...
that will be a great topic. Can you, on the show, present, if you know it, that rational inquiry? Because that's what I want to critique. We won't do it now, but if you can come on the show and go, okay, Rob, what I'm going to present is Averroes' rational inquiry as to how he came to know a God, and we'll critique that, because I'm extremely doubtful that that's the case.
But I'll give you more than that, Rob, because what happened was there was, around about the same time in Andalusia, now we're talking about like 12th century Andalusia. Now there was a chap called Ibn Arabi, who I mentioned in our initial show. Remember, I talked about Ibn Arabi and the unity of existence, his theory of the unity of existence. Anyway, Ibn Arabi was a 9-year-old child when he went to visit Averroes. Averroes was in his elderly years, and they had a debate, they had a discussion about this. A 9-year-old boy talking. This is why I'm saying that spirituality cannot be confined to just one thing like age or intellect or...
Yeah, but we also got to define what spirituality is, because everybody throws the word around. But
I'll tell you the conversation. He went to Averroes. This is all recorded. This is historical fact.
Before you carry on with the conversation, what is it going to demonstrate at the end?
I'm going to tell you where spirituality comes in and how it links in with how it can link in with philosophy, the exoteric side of things and the esoteric side of things.
Okay, give me a short version. Keep the long one for the show.
Okay, so his father sent him to visit Averroes, who was this famous philosopher at the time, and then Averroes posed the query to Ibn Arabi, posed the query to this 9-year-old boy, have the conclusions that you've reached the same as I have reached through rational inquiry? So this 9-year-old boy replies a yes and a no. So there is this paradoxical kind of...
Yes, it seems to be.
There's a paradoxical aspect to mysticism. Okay? What he's trying to...
If you have a paradox, is that rational though? To live with a paradox?
This is where mysticism can rationalize that. Now...
Okay, but not through rationale though, eh?
Yeah, no.
Right, okay.
No, it can't be done
so
through
mysticism can rationalize rationality, but without using
But
rationality.
it's interesting to hear what Ibn Arabi states to Averroes. He states the following. He states, between the yes and the no, this is his exact words, between the yes and the no, the spirit takes flight from the body when the head is separated from the neck. Now what that means is, it's quite a deep mystical phrase, and you have to know...
It seems to me that's a normal phrase that people had of the day. When you died, your spirit left your body.
But it's not about the physical death, Rob.
So he wasn't talking about your head being cut?
No, he's not talking about your physical decapitation.
Right. Okay.
Now, this is the thing. This is deep spiritual knowledge, by the way. He's talking about what happens is, as I said earlier, you have the lower aspect of the soul and the higher aspect of the soul. That's the yes and the no.
I'm granting you for this conversation that a soul in fact exists.
Yes, it's synonymous with the yes and the no. Is the higher state of consciousness and the lower state of consciousness. What he's trying to say is, when you reach a stage where your lower soul or your lower self is transmuted to that higher state of consciousness, you have now reached a stage where you have divine association. What that means is, you have basically, your ego has been diminished. Now it's about diminishing your ego. The ego has to be obliterated, otherwise this spiritual path cannot be followed. And therein lies the secret. The secret to this path is
getting rid of the ego.
You have to be completely
Who in history has got rid of their ego? Can you name me 5 people?
Buddha, Muhammad, Jesus.
So when those people, maybe Buddha, I grant you that's a possibility. I don't think Jesus or Muhammad did. They displayed a lot of ego up until their death. At least some more so with Muhammad than Jesus. So
well, you're looking at the scriptures, which are sometimes misinterpreted, and as I said earlier, there's a lot of hadiths which have been, which are not completely correct. And
that's your opinion, though.
Well, there's mystical meanings and metaphors which we have to understand as well. You remember I talked about the seven heavens.
Yes, but I mean, this seems to me all subjective. People can take a meaning from something. I read it and I take a literal thing. So, for example, let's take one. What should we take from the Quran and see whether it's literal? Did the sun set in a muddy pool?
Right.
Is the earth flat?
Sun setting in the muddy pool. You know what that's about?
Is that a metaphor of something?
Do you know Alexander the Great? When he conquered the whole of the known world, it's about Dulqur. What I believe that is, because you got to look at the background and the history, right?
Okay, so it wasn't meant to represent reality.
No, what that
in your view?
Well, it was actually, because what that is indicating is that Alexander the Great, or Dhul-Qurnayn, he was a two-horned one, by the way, the two-horned one. He had two horns in his helmet. So Alexander the Great is basically what this is referring to. He conquered the whole of the known world, and there was an area where they state that the sun set in a muddy pool, and that was one extent of his empire. And then there was another extent of his empire. If you read the actual surah, there's another end of his empire, which is where there were unlettered people who were ignorant, and I don't know the exact.
Okay,
but he also had a third journey.
So is that scientific, or is that a spiritual belief? Is that like a metaphorical interpretation of what that verse says?
There is a spiritual aspect to it as well.
Okay, but yeah. So that's more subjective, isn't it?
Have a good trip, man.
Thank you so much for everything, Dave. We'll see you soon.
Shall I tell you what the spiritual...
Stops wants to ask you a question. Go ahead. Stops.
Can I say what the spiritual significance of that story is? The muddy pool is the lower self. It's the ego.
Yeah, I can understand how you're gonna take it that way. Obviously, I'm gonna look at it more from a literal sense. I mean, if you brought overwhelming evidence that was the case, or any other claim that virtually every other Muslim thinks is a literal claim, and you're saying no, it's not a literal claim, then
that's why Muhammad and I disagreed on the show, because he basically didn't understand that the seven heavens of the celestial journey actually correspond to the seven chakras of the human body.
Yes, I mean you can make that analogy, but your sources and your reasons, I think, are, in my view, a bit dubious. No doubt you'll think there's interpretation of the Quran that talk about that. I mean, it would have been helpful, in my view, if it actually talked about that, and it didn't have to be interpreted as such. If I say the tree's growing there behind you, and what I really mean is the growth of a little child next to you, I think if I said to you I'm talking about the growth of a child rather than the growth of the tree representing the child, that's a more accurate representation than you having to take a metaphor, or you having to interpret that what I'm talking about with a tree is actually a child. So what Stops is saying, by the way, when you come on the show, presumably you're not going to bring scientific evidence for anything. It's more going to be a philosophical discussion.
The reason things happen in metaphors is partly to protect the individual or the protagonist who's trying to portray this message. Now, if you look at the writings of Nostradamus or other, prophets of the past, they shroud their writings in metaphors. They shroud their writings in kind of mysticism.
And do you think that's a good thing?
Yes, but it has to be done.
Why?
Because if you blatantly say something like "I am God,"
no, don't even go with "I am God." A prediction, or whatever it is, it is.
If you blatantly, like you talked about specifics of a prediction.
Yes, precision is what I mean.
If you blatantly state that.
Yes.
That can lead to a lot of problems, because you can be classed as, it might cause issues.
Well, if it came true, surely that would be convincing evidence that what you're saying is likely from somebody other than yourself. And if I say to you 3 to 9 years there'll be a battle in the lower land, as opposed to, hey, on this date, this time, there'll be these two enemies with this amount of people, these number will die. Which one is more convincing?
No, sorry, I'm not denying that prophecies can occur and they're quite accurate. As I stated,
but I've never heard one that's accurate. That's the point.
You haven't?
No, not a single one. But I think your bar and my bar for accuracy is extremely different. or not you, I won't put that on you. Many Muslims think that 3 to 9 years is incredibly accurate prediction. I'm thinking that's one of the most vague things. If this came from a God, I'm utterly unimpressed. If this is the best that God can do, you're certainly not impressing me. And it shouldn't impress anybody else, but for some unbeknownst reason to me, it seems to impress other people.
I think everything is there. There's a reason behind everything. The reason God is so ambiguous is purely due to the fact that I stated earlier that it cannot all be disclosed. It cannot, because...
Okay, but presumably it was all disclosed to certain people. Has it never been disclosed in its entirety to any human being?
It's been disclosed to those individuals that have been sent to certain communities, yes.
Yes, and in its entirety, right? So there have been human beings to whom it has been disclosed in its entirety.
Correct. But the level to which those individuals disclosed it to their immediate following varies as well. Now,
yeah, sure.
There are individuals who had a level of understanding and others who didn't have the level of understanding to understand what that prophet or what that seer was saying.
Okay, but my question is, why have these individuals? Okay, you can, as God, in my view, to the people who can understand it at a deep level, reveal it in that way. To the rest of us lay people, reveal it directly to me to the level that you know I'm able to do. Because, by the way, of course, you created me, so you know my capabilities, my limitations. Correct. So having a middleman that I could misinterpret seems to be, again, not what I would expect from a God. I would expect a God to reveal to you, let's say you've got an IQ of 200 and I've got 100, a lot more to you that you can understand deeply. Whereas to me, he would give it to me. And again, I obviously have to question why we've got different IQs, but put that aside. Yeah. Assume we've got different IQs and he created us. Him sending the message directly to me rather than through another intermediary seems to be like putting an extra block in the way that is unnecessary.
But I think sometimes we all need guidance, don't we? We can't all...
Well, why can't I get guidance directly from him as opposed to another human being? Because I'm less likely to believe that human being and more likely to believe it if it came straight from him in a way that could make me sure that he was sending it.
You can achieve the knowledge independent of a third party.
Okay, so what's the point of the third party then?
You don't have to have that, but sometimes that third party is essential to show certain individuals in society.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Spiritual path.
But he isn't essential because God could do that without that third party.
He can do that, but
so why not?
But we are all. It's nuanced. We are all different, right?
Yes, but he knows the limitation better than the third party, right?
My level of mysticism might be different to this chap's level or this chap's level of mysticism.
But who would know that best? Who would know that best? God or the prophets?
Well, the thing is, you yourself will actually know that best because you have to understand.
Yes, but remember, what I know about myself is irrelevant to the people who are sending me the message. So that's why my question is, who would know my level of ability to understand something better? The prophets or God?
Obviously divine essence.
So for me,
and that's why there's individuals...
Get rid of the prophets, there's no point in having them.
Well, there is a point in having them.
What is it?
You have, throughout history, there are saints and seers and peers, we call them in India and in Iran, they call them peers. They're basically mystical gurus or sages.
Yeah.
They can all link their lineage or trace back their spiritual understanding to certain prophetic figures.
Does information, were these people perfect or were they fallible? In other words,
which ones?
These seers and prophets and so forth. Did they retain the information perfectly to pass it on? Or is it more likely that they were fallible beings that could have and likely did make a mistake here and there?
They could have made a mistake, of course, but the spiritual, mystical understanding in its essence was infallible.
Okay, but why have them, I'm saying? If they were infallible, okay, but God can give it to me straight, and He can give it to me differently than He can give it to you. So why have them?
And He has given it straight to certain individuals. Like, as I said, the 9-year-old Ibn Arabi had it from birth.
But I'm asking why He's not doing it for everybody at the level they can understand or accept.
Right. The reason for that is because you have to have gradations and variation in society.
Who says so? Is that your view?
Well, it's just
that's a personal opinion. Yeah.
My personal.
And I think you're putting roadblocks in the way.
My subjective opinion. That creates multiplicity and diversity, and out of that comes unity.
Okay, and I would disagree with you. My personal opinion is that God does not require prophets. If He knows His own creation to the highest degree possible, He knows how to send that message directly to every single human being at the level that they could understand and accept.
Right.
And so the prophets are superfluous
But
to
there's
me.
another thing the prophets were sent for, and the seers and the saints. The prophets mainly were sent also for the masses, the public, the common Joe public. Because you got to remember...
Yeah, but you're saying the same thing again.
No, I'm saying that society has to have moral codes of conduct and ethical laws. And these religions did provide that to an extent. And they were what happened was...
And they weren't very good though when we look back.
But throughout history they were misconstrued, misinterpreted.
Okay, but
bastardized.
whose fault is that though?
Mankind.
Okay, but God made mankind, so he made mankind to misinterpret the words that he sent.
Yes, he made mankind
that's
to be fallible.
problematic. Do you not see the problem with that circular reasoning?
Yeah, but from a mystical perspective, mankind can be divine.
Yeah, but they can also be fallible. He's made us fallible,
He has,
and he knows that we've all misinterpreted
That's
things.
where, Rob, the lower self, or the nafs, or the ego, is what overtakes the human.
Yeah, I mean, to me that doesn't mean a lot other than you saying those words.
Well, it's a mystical...
But I don't see how that helps the conversation.
You've got a monochromatic view of
I want to know what's true
mysticism.
and not what's false. So in that sense, I've got a fairly dogmatic view about truth.
You've got someone who over-rationalizes things to explain these kind of mystical and spiritual...
Yes, because they're very vague, aren't they? And they seem contradictory.
They will be.
And that's problematic. And again, if God has sent this and he's given me a rational mind, then either I'm using it beyond what God is able to give me, or he's not sending it in a way that I can accept.
Yeah.
But I think what we'll do, Ash, we'll see if we can have a chat on the gin and tonics. Yes, that will be interesting. If you can put forward the view of Averroes and how he got to his arguments for the rational argument of God, which God, by the way, whatever God that was, then let's have that conversation. I think that'll be good. On that note, thanks very much. Okay, cheers then. Okay, did you hear all of that, Stops?
By the time anything comes to race war, there's no race
I used to prophesy the internet will be in the pockets of most people.
Yeah, I just wanted to see how we do that, and whether we do want to have that on, because I think you would get frustrated as well in the sense of not getting a straight answer.
Vaccinations, I jump in ladies without consent.
They've got a negotiating team. What are they doing? They're not negotiating.
Yeah, so I mean, we can have a chat and see whether that's something we want to pursue. I'll give you a chance. I'll sit still and you can have a conversation there and see where, what you can uncover. So there's old Jedi and the gang.
Show me the Quran where Jesus says I'm just a prophet. Don't worship me.
We'll see what you can do. I mean, Stops, if you have him on the show, then come with the idea of doing that, and I'll sit quietly and you practice it with him, because like you say, I mean, that would be interesting practice to see where you get with it.
One statement for the first it's very simple question, because these Christians believe in it. They believe in it. This is their word. It is their word. That is their word.
With every challenge there's a reward for those who win. Like any contest.
When you win, there's a reward.
All right, guys, we're running on about 2 hours and 20 at the moment, so I'm going to stop this one now, and we'll start a part 2 like in the next 20 seconds or so, so that we've got, reasonable chunks, and I know it gets saved as well. So we'll be stopping the stream. Look out on Speakers Corner UK, and I'll start another stream in just less than a minute.
It brings a satisfaction. You don't need anybody to validate you anymore.